Pew, 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 pew. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live and we are back. What's good?
What's happening, world?
It is the Rumble on Rumble show here on Rumble. And we're also dropping on YouTube until they kick us off. Tonight's a special one. Normally we come in a little more heat. Tonight, we're going to do the first 10 minutes, talk a little bit about what's going on politically. Currently, because there is some very big news, and then we're going to get into the reparations debate. That is right. We're going to debate whether reparations, specifically for the Black community in America, is the best for overall America and the Black community moving forward. I'm going to say that it's not. Taking that side, not that I necessarily believe that, but taking that side of this debate because it needs to be had. There needs to be someone, in my opinion, like Protocol, who won't just scream, "Screw you, you racist honky," but go, "I hear your points, and the reason you're incorrect is A, B, or C." And hopefully people who feel the way I hopefully represent them well will understand better why the ask is there and understand why maybe their points can be debated strongly. So we'll see. We'll see. So, yeah.
I think you'll do a damn good job. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure you've been around quite a few people who just really can't understand why reparations should be awarded to particular people in America. And, you know, we'll get to that. I think once they have the light open and they read a little more, they understand more, then they can understand. We all come from a place of ignorance every now and then. So to them, you know, get your pens, as I always say. Make sure your electronic devices are on the charger or fully charged. And let's get ready to roll. Let's rumble and rumble.
Let's get it. And so let's get into real. Oh man, my weekend was, brother. To be honest, personally, man, it's been one of the toughest weeks in a long time. It's just been one of those weeks, man. It's all right. You're still in the fight. You're still in the champion. Fight. You know what you got. You know what I mean? It's just, life is a series of rounds, and rounds are a series of exchanges. And I felt like I held my own. I didn't get any knockout blows, but I felt like I definitely got punched a few times this week, and that's okay. But it's been a challenging week, man. I'm looking forward to a little bit more chill week, and you know how it is, man. You just reset the vision. You understand what you're doing it for, and then you get back into it, kicking ass.
That's
so, what about you, man? How's your week been?
Man, my week actually was pretty damn good. My week was pretty damn good. Weekend was pretty chill. Had a great show Friday night. Listen, longest Friday night flights on record. 4 hours and right at 30 minutes, man. I'm like, okay, but it was needed. Phone calls were pretty dope. Even I got a little tired after, you know what I'm saying, a couple of phone calls. But we rolled out. It was good, man. So if you missed that, go back and watch it. Find it on YouTube. Find it on Rumble. I think it's on Facebook too. Just Friday Night Flights. Hashtag Friday Night Flights. It'll pop right up.
And boom, rolling with it.
All right.
Let's see here. I'm catching a little echo. Let me do a setting here. 1, 2, better.
Are we
I'll
better?
get my producer to tell me. I think that's better. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay, now, yes. Okay, so we got to talk about the hot stuff going on, and that is Ron DeSantis has left the campaign.
He's done, son. But like, honestly, Pro Ben told you.
Yes, correct.
Pro said that he was done, and I'm surprised that he quit before New Hampshire. Oh, it was a flash. I don't know what just happened. I'm surprised he quit before New Hampshire. Like, that was shocking. But he's still gonna be on the ballot.
Right.
So I don't know, he's shifting all his support to Trump. So I guess his numbers would flip. His numbers won't necessarily flip to Trump. Because those are still regular people. No, they're people.
Yeah, I think they will.
They're people though. So like, there's a few people I watch on the Twitter space where they're just anti-Trump no matter what. So they still got Nikki Haley in the race, and then they could just not vote because they just hate the man that much. Like, there's people out there that hates Trump that much, bro. that would like
Yeah.
I'm just not going to vote, or I'm going to vote for Haley, or I'll vote for what's my man name, Kennedy. I'll vote for Robert Kennedy before I vote for Donald Trump. And there's that. But I'm
I
worried
hear
about.
you.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I hear you. I think a lot of I mean, this is why I was considering DeSantis back in the day when he first started. And the only
Hmm.
reason I would have considered him is because it was like, okay, he'll be able to get more done. Now, the deeper you go into it, the more trash you see all of that really is. But what I meant by that is, hey, look, it's a political game and Trump offends people and he's a bull in a china shop, as we all agree. We
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
But I was like, DeSantis just seems more president, the thing. And, once again, in the past 2 years, I've
I got
never
to do
changed. What I
Jackie
mean is
Chan.
like, what? Just,
What
he
is
seems like
presidential?
okay, so you know what it is, man? There's a difference in going into a room and pissing everybody in that room off by going, you're all corrupt, your game is trash, screw you, and having the people
Hmm.
that might be your allies go, well, no, we're not going to vote now on anything you want because, you're exposing us.
Get him
Versus
out of
somebody
there.
like, right, I agree. I agree.
And that's the next part of it. See, that's what I was getting ready to say before. You know what I'm saying? I deferred and let you speak on, but it's a perfect place to say it. Put new people in Congress. Put new people in the Senate. It does not have to be these people, and that's the whole point of it all. The whole point of it all is getting the team in there with these people. That's why I question. Oh, I'm going to vote for Cordell West. I'm going to vote for Robert Kennedy. Who in the hell do they have that's going to rally behind them and get the laws and the things that they want done? They don't have nobody in their pocket. They don't have nobody. Everybody's either talking about we're going for Biden, or we're going for Trump, or we're going for Nikki, or like this is where they are. They're not talking about a Cornel West. They're not talking about a Robert F. Kennedy. So it's pipe dreams unless the people, when they do vote for a Robert F. Kennedy, they vote for someone else who aligns with what Robert F. Kennedy wants to get through office. And they do it in every state.
Right.
That's how you work that. But outside of that, it's the real game, and it's Trump. It's Trump versus all the foolishness. Like you have the people who stand off from Haley, but we want the person who's
And
going to
that's
get it and kick ass. We just have to be Congress.
look, okay, so this is what Amy, who voted for Joe Biden in the last election, uh
Mm-hmm.
who is very was very growing up very old school Democrat, says, I think Trump is the man for the job, but he
Uh-huh.
is crass. I wouldn't take
Mm-hmm.
him to church. I don't trust him to be quiet. Yeah,
Oh
but she
yeah.
married
Guess
that.
guess.
She married that.
Okay.
Okay. So
Hey, that's
she,
beautiful. That's
she
beautiful. I'll take Trump to church. Cause see,
yeah,
I didn't see Trump at the black church. Biden was shocked. Biden was in that bitch.
I know.
Like Trump was in there. At least he was doing his little Trump jig, clapping his hands. Like I'm taking Trump to church.
And it's so fun, man. You can always tell white people who are not used to black people. You know what I mean? He does need Jesus.
Mhm.
She said-
And
uh,
Trump loves baby
s-
Jesus.
same thing if you watch, like, I watched, Tim Cast. I've watched a lot of it. And when
Hmm.
Hotep Jesus was on, and even Dom Lucre was on Friday night,
Hmm.
they always act just a little different. They're not as real. You can tell it's like, oh, there's a different type of human in our room, and it's like, hey, man, guess what? Black people are need water and food and air and enjoy a laugh, and you know what I
Hmm.
mean. Like, you can tell people that are comfortable, but that's a side note.
But why? No, but it's a good side note, especially like with the conversation that we're having tonight. It's like why? Why do you move that way? Why do you think that way? Why
To
is that a
me,
reaction?
a lot of that is media because
Yeah.
okay, man, and it's like it's so cliche to say, but growing up around black people, I just there's no lie to it. I did.
Hmm.
It's not that way. You don't go into you don't sit down with a black person, you're like, I'm with a different type of human. It's what up, man? How you doing? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because I guess what? I know that when you're hungry, you're gonna want to eat. You gotta put gas in your ride. You want your kids
Hmm.
to do better than you did. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
If a motherfucker gets out of line, he's gonna get smacked. I mean, all of the things, right? There's
Absolutely.
not you know what I mean? There are some things here and there, but you know what I mean? Like it's white people who don't hang around black people who are told black people think this way about you, feel this way. A lot of them are they grow up on Twitter and social media
Hmm.
and that democratic way of black people are angry victims. And so you have to treat them as angry victims. And then black people are like, I'm not an angry. What the hell are you doing to me?
Not an angry
So,
victim.
is what
I may want something, but I'm not an angry victim. I'm gonna file my grievances. But you know what? I'll put it this way. I won't say I'm not a I don't move my life in a stuck, angry victim mentality, right? However, if I am angry about some type of grievance on something that a person has done to me and I voice that, right? Then I should have the right to voice that. I mean, this country was built on people who was
yes.
mad with the way that someone was treating them. They wrote a letter and said, "This is what I am putting on paper. I am copywriting." You know what I'm saying? What it is that you did to me and how I feel about what you did, and I'm not going to allow you to do it anymore. And this is why I'm separating from you. It was a legit breakup letter. So if they can file their grievances and then move forward and finding some form of redress, and that's what this country is based on, then I'm going to do the same. And I just hope
Absolutely.
that as we move forward as men and women, we all acknowledge that for what it is, and we honor it respectfully. So.
And that that is uh one of the core foundations, and to me one of the most beautiful things about our country is the amount of effort and time they put into our judicial system. Now I know it's corrupt and
Mhm.
I know it's screwed and they're using it against one of the best, in my opinion, Americans to ever America. He's one of the best Americans to ever American, DJT. But um uh I mean, if you look, most of the technical stuff, most of the work, most of the we
Mhm.
need to make sure this is clear for all generations is the judicial branch,
Mhm.
because it supposedly is what makes all men equal. No, I know, look, man, we can, know and be, and I agree. There's 100 million reasons why that's not necessarily the case. But in the idea, in the thought of it, the Bill of Rights too, I feel like they were like, okay, there's too much we left out of the Constitution. Y'all are still tripping. So let's go ahead and get this Bill of Rights on so people stop trying to, misinterpret for their own benefit what we have here. My opinion
Mhm.
on that, man. So yeah, and then my man Sean Strickland lost last night. Hurtful.
But did he though?
I don't think he did. Here's the
But
thing.
did he though? Because it went down to decision, right?
It was a split decision, and here's the thing. It's okay. Okay, so first of all, I'll just get into the technicality of my opinion on it. Okay, my
Mhm.
opinion on that was okay. So if you look at Sean Strickland, he's not fancy. Okay, so my other favorite fighter is one he actually beat, and that's Israel Adesanya. And I love
Mhm.
Israel Adesanya for the exact opposite reasons I love Sean. Israel Adesanya is a what they call a multiple discipline black belt, meaning he's got a kickboxing black belt, a Muay Thai black belt, I believe a Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So he can take you down, never throw a punch, and beat the crap out of you and end you. He
Mhm.
can
Mhm.
stand up, never grasp you or clasp with you once, beat you up, knock you out, and win. He can dirty box you, which is how he won the title, up against a cage with another dude, no space in between him, dirty boxing. All three
Mhm.
very different skills, and beat you and win. Sean is old school Brooklyn boxing. He does one thing basically. He might throw a kick. I don't think he had one takedown attempt. He might throw a kick here or there. He does one thing, old school Brooklyn boxing. You go into that dirty ring in that dirty gym and you
Mhm.
just box and box and box. They say he'll do 30 or 40 rounds of sparring a day, and he just does it so well. So to me, a lot of it is conditioning. A whole lot of who you are is how you are fighting at the very end of the fight. They're saying rounds 2 and 3 were up for debate, and that's, I guess, fair-ish. He was more accurate. He spent less energy controlling the fight, and then at the very end, it's undeniable he won round 5. So after all 4 rounds of them giving everything they had, he was still the fighter that could have gone 2 more rounds. Dracus Duplessis could not have. In my opinion, he won. Now,
Mm,
past that, Israel Adesanya have big beef with Dracus Duplessis, right? Because Dracus is a white South African, and even though
hmm.
Adesanya is actually from New Zealand, they got that roots. I would think it would be like
Right, right.
being from South Florida and being from Jamaica, but being a Jamaican in South Florida, you know what I mean? You got them roots, and you feel very connected to your homeland. And so, being New Zealand, he has a feels a very deep connection. So, as you know, the white and black South African thing is a big, big thing. So,
Hmm, hmm.
that's the big
Oh,
setup in UFC
so,
300.
oh, really?
So
Really?
Israel Adesanya
Okay.
said he wasn't going to
It
fight
makes
again until
sense.
2026, but then he came back. He was supposed to beat Sean. Sean was number 6, right? He
Mhm.
was supposed to beat Sean and wait for Dracus, and then they were supposed to fight. Then Sean beat Izzy. Izzy had an injury. We don't know officially what it is. We're pretty sure it was his elbow, like his arm joint was messed up. And, as a fighter, that you just can't, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you
That you
need
can't put
that.
any weight on it. It's also a
Yeah,
block. This is a shield too, right?
yeah,
And you can't.
yeah.
So anyway, uh, he said he wasn't going to come back for 2 years. Then he said, I'm healed and I'm doing better. I come
I,
from the white slave.
hey, listen,
Yoda.
listen. I'm with you, dog. Get your ass in line. Get your shit right. Get your paperwork. Get your shit and file your motherfucking grievances, dog. Let's get it.
Amy says it was a close fight. Anyway, long story short, Izzy's coming back. Izzy hates Dracus and had his eye on him for a long time. Just, I don't
Mm-hmm.
like this guy in the UFC. They're in the same weight class. Izzy is coming back. UFC 300, it was supposed to be Conor McGregor, and then it was supposed to be John Jones, both of them injured. We're not
Mm-hmm.
fighting. So what do? You take a close fight that you can pretty much sell Dracus won. You put
Mm-hmm.
Dracus against Iz. You have a blood feud. You have a race feud. You have everything you need to sell a fight. Boom, the end. So
That sounds like that you know what? Because you're the MMA man. Because see, look, I just love turning on and watching some motherfuckers beat shit out of each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
well,
love
the
that
cool thing
about that.
is,
But
Sean is the perfect guy to take the belt off of because he doesn't
yeah.
care. Literally, word for word. What's it like having a belt? Well, so I got a fucking gold plated piece of jewelry that doesn't change me. I don't get to retire. I
Mm-hmm.
still got to fight for the next 2 years if I ever want to buy a
Mm-hmm.
house. Like
Mm-hmm.
Sean is Sean, and I love that. Also, Sean has no nickname, and the same reason I have no badges or wrenches in chats. He
Mm-hmm.
has no. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like Sean the Cold Killer Strickland. It's just Sean Strickland. You know what I mean? I am trailer trash. I'm just Sean Strickland. You know what I mean? I'm not special. I just, you know what I mean? I get in my
Yeah.
underwear and beat people, and you pay me for it. I love it. So,
That's it. That's it,
anyway,
bro.
speaking of race wars, are you ready to go, man?
Hey man, listen. I'm about that life. I'm about that life. What? You ready?
Yes, sir. Okay, so what I'm thinking is it's 18:21. We'll officially kick it in about 30 seconds at 19 minutes in. So if you want a timestamp, we are going to debate whether reparations is the best for America going forward. Once again, protocol will be on the pro side of that, and I will be arguing on the negative side or the idea that reparations are not the best way moving forward for America. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you want to start recording or pay attention, we'll start now. Basically, we're going to each have an opening statement. He will go first as the pro, and then we will have a point, a counterpoint. Then the other side will go point, then counterpoint. We'll do 3 or 4 rounds, then closing statements. We're going to hold chats, and we will read your chats as soon as we're done. Okay.
That's it.
Pro, if you'd like to start.
All right. So the question is reparations good for America moving forward? On its face, absolutely. Reparations is a repairing, right, of a people, whether it's for damages done by health, given by medicine that they knew was bad, right? Whether it was for times of war, whether it's for an accident someone had, right? Reparations is repairing someone for some type of damage that was done by another. And in this case, I'm arguing that reparations from the US government is definitely in order to any, make sure I put this out there, any community that can prove that the United States of America or someone actually did something to stop a particular group from moving forward, from doing for themselves, growing for themselves, providing for themselves in the best way they know how. The basic things that the United States of America is built on, the basic principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? And the United States of America knows that they have done some things to people to where they've even attempted to redress grievances for the wrongdoings that were done, whether it was the writing of the Declaration of Independence. In out of the three drafts, the two of them had specific mentionings of what the king was doing when capturing people and taking them to a foreign land against their will, and then using them to create funds. And then there were businesses that was participating in this quote unquote economy. When the country was founded, twice it was mentioned by Thomas Jefferson, hey, this is wrong and we shouldn't be doing this. Fast forward into the creating of the Constitution and putting out who's going to vote for who, it was addressed. Hey, these people really should be speaking for, doing for themselves. If we're going to count them as actual people, we need to let them do for themselves. And that's when the whole Three-Fifths Compromise came into play. And we moved forward up until the Civil War time frame leading into the Civil War, because people got to understand, like during this time, it wasn't as instant as I send the text, this person get it, and we communicate. It was people traveling to get messages and ideas and thoughts, you know what I'm saying, spread about. There was time before you realize, like, we drive down dirt roads and it takes hours in a car before we see the next city. Think about that on horse and buggy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a very slow move across, but there were people who were actually fighting and moving for change. So with that being said, it was always thought about blacks, hey, this is wrong, we shouldn't be doing this, they should be allowed. And not only just blacks, but Native Americans, but no people, this is wrong, we shouldn't be doing this. Came into the Civil War. A lot of people talk about, oh, they fought for slavery. That was on the back end. That was really a secondary thought. It was more so about the economy. And then it was like, hey, well, we can use these people to really turn against them and really end this. And right at the end of the Civil War, there is the Field Order 15 after the massacre in Ebenezer, where people were going to cross the river. That's right here, where I stay. That's 45 minutes or less away from me, where these people went to cross, my people went to cross the river, and they died. And the Union soldiers looked back and said, oh, snap. What did we do? Something got to be done. We can't take care of all of these people. We have to allow them to live. They were done wrong. Let's set some things up in order for them to take care and do for themselves. Thus giving us Field Order number 15, 40 acres and a mule. A lot of the land grant colleges, a lot of things were starting to be implemented from that moment. Well, the government allowed for a president to be assassinated, another party to take over, and a new, that other party taking back everything that the government addressed as being wrong. Okay? So since the government addressed that all this was wrong, went to fix it, and then the other ones took it away, we know that, hey, the United States of America, the government has stepped forward and gave people their just dues for the wrongdoing, but then the government came back and let someone come in and take it back from them. right? So on its face, we know America will address and redress grievances to Black people, particularly in the form of reparations of land ownership, being able to handle businesses, being able to own our banks. We had a whole Freedmen's Bureau that they destroyed after the government said, hey, this is wrong, we need to let them do them, and we know that we literally held them back. All right, we're going to let them go ahead and get this go ahead, get a little step up and do for them and build their communities and just be great Americans. The government's already done it before. So I just want them to do it again. Right. And we can do it again. We've seen in recent times where they've done it with Native Americans. They've done it with Japanese who were held in internment camps. So why can't we now bring forth redress of grievances and allow the government that's supposed to allow for the prosperity of all of its citizens to say, hey, we fucked up and here you go, here you go, here you go. We're going to get out your way with your education. We're going to give you tax breaks for a minute because we really did allow some really screwed up things to happen with monetary movement in your community. And y'all have a good day now, you hear? And let that be what it be. And I'll land my plane. That is pretty much, on a basis of why I say we do need and it can help us move forward because we can allow communities to build.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. There's a lot I agree. There's a lot I agree with there. Clearly, I'm not pro-slavery. Go figure. I think that's a bad stance. I think slavery was wrong. I think it's always going to be a blight on America, and I think clearly it's deeper than wrong to an evil. It actually is an evil perpetuated on a people and a scar on any country, past or present. So I do agree there. I also agree that the government has tried to make restitution in the past, and some of that has been absolutely subverted by the powers that be. However, I do also think that, the goal is to unite, not divide. And, if we look at the government as a great big candy machine, that we can just pull all of our we can pull ease and happiness out of all of our grievances. We're going to basically collapse our country waiting for something that we're supposed to actually fund and control to other and take care of us. So, long story short there, as far as my opening is that I think racism was wrong. I think racism is wrong. I think slavery was evil and wrong. I think the most important thing we can do is focus on uniting people of all races and colors and creeds for a one goal, and that is to take the power out of the government's hands and to put it back in our hands. And I feel like doing that. Please tell your people not to get mad at me here, please.
Hey y'all, so I don't think they're getting mad. I don't think they're getting mad.
Right.
I don't see any crazy comments yet. So everybody is really.
I want to take your points you made and go with you and be like, I know another
I know,
thing.
I know you do. I know you do.
But I'm the other guy right now.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. Be the other guy. This is good. This is really good.
So I think because this is what they're going to come at. This is what I'm reading and seeing on this other end, and I want to present it, fairly, because anyway, the goal is to unite and not divide. And if we specifically focus on only one group of people and then give them something, and then one group and give them something, we are by nature leaving out people who need things. And we know for a fact that when we do that, we create yet another poverty class. We create another group of people that then allows us to create more government institutions and more government dependency. And that is the vicious cycle that has gotten us into the poor state of affairs, as far as economics as a country go that we're in now. So I believe that there is a way for an idea of restitution. But I believe that has to be something that's integrated for most all people in America, and I do not believe reparations is the best way for that. So yes, and so that would be my opening statement.
I can understand that. In dealing with looking at it from an economic side and whether or not we can monetarily handle it, but we monetarily handle it on so many different fronts, right? This isn't so we're not saying, hey, and I want us to be crystal clear when we speak for um reparations. It's not a hand, right? A handout. It's not a move for government dependency, right? This is a statement because we're not just when we come and we ask for this, like again, we had this conversation before and definitely had this conversation on Friday night flights, money, and I think this was last Sunday as well on Rumble. Money is a tool, a resource, right? It is something in the toolbox. All right. So because it's something in the toolbox, in the movement of community power and having, we talk about those people who don't have jobs and those people being left behind and not taken care of. It takes money to do that. So when people who are, a lot of us speak on what we can prove, which was taken from us after slavery, right? But remember, the statement was about grievances, about what a government allowed to happen to a people. So I can rewind, just a few decades ago to where the government, Iran Contra, put dope in thriving communities where they, in a lot of places, shut down the money making factories, right? To put as a form of economics to destroy the mindset, the stability, and the growth of communities to fund their war, right? So when there are people who can say that, hey, US government, just like your founding fathers, like that you love to hold accountable, right? They're your people. They're the ones, just like they stood and held their ruler accountable for what he did to a people. Now we're standing up and saying, hey, look at how you destroyed this community on your face. You allowed it to happen in your hands. And this is the damage that we believe was done. If E. Jean Carroll, a known liar, you can prove that the broad is lying on so many fronts, can go to a person and sue that person, an individual person, on made up lies and get awarded 5 million, 15 million, whatever amount, $1 million, then a people can step up and say, hey, we have this paperwork, right? Where you guys tore this down, and this is the amount of damage that we believe you caused in doing this, right? And that's just the 80s, right? I can go back a few decades into that and show where the US government destroyed business districts and homes by running highways straight through through these neighborhoods to literally destroy and interrupt them. Again, we're filing a grievance with you knew you were causing harm when you did this, but you did it anyway. And now, as a people, we're filing a grievance. That's where we are with it, right? I'm not, look, we can smack on what was done between slavery and now, if we can put it in black and white and file a grievance. And I'll say it to everyone, right? Right now, I tell my MAGA brethren, you guys, we guys, right? We guys are all being attacked by the government that we hold near and dear to our hearts. They're shutting down bank accounts. They're making it hard for us to live. They're kicking in doors. They're doing all kinds of tomfuckery. You guys, just like your founding fathers you love to hold to such high esteem, should be writing your notes and filing your grievances, right? And having some form of redress, point blank, period. Now, this is us. This is Negro people, right? Because we were at one point in time, we were classified as Negro people, right? It has went from freedmen to freemen slash freedmen to slaves to Negro to African American to black. And we've had so many classifications, right? In changing, but others haven't, because it was their structure. They were in control. And all we're doing is we're calling out the government for what it is. I'm not asking for just a check. All right. I'm not asking for just a check. I'm asking for just as Trump was doing. See, Trump gets it. Trump gets it when it came to what reparations look like to a people. And that's why he had the new black deals. A lot of people like to talk about the platinum plan from 2020, but they don't talk about the new black deal from 2016, where it was, hey, You take your places, you get control and protect your places of worship. You get your institutions of education. You build up your businesses, right? You get, because it what's good for one sect of America can be good for all sects of America, right? Because now you're opening up more just inside trade lanes. You know what I'm saying? You're fixing to where you have safer situations where you can all build and move together because you're actually pouring into them. You know, if we know that the debt is there and we can prove without a shadow of a doubt, right? I don't care who it is, list your grievances and address them and then put forth, you know what I'm saying, a plan of what you would like to see as payment, right? It could be, hey, you know what? Guess what? Give me 30 years of I don't have to pay certain taxes. I'll pay the taxes for the stuff like I'm not paying for the roads. I'm not paying for none of that. Screw that. I'll invest in my child's education though. But with that, let me get that school choice. All right. Let me go ahead and stop so much regulation with the education and let me get the school choice. Get rid of the red tape that's stopping that. Now, that's good for all parents because I'm sure you're an advocate of school choice, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So now you have a now you have a strong group of people like, oh, you with school choice? Oh, we can stand together. Yeah, okay, cool. Now we all getting something out of this.
Yeah. And that's fair. And I don't necessarily disagree. Now, the question I have is, have there been attempts made by the federal government to make amends or repair the damage? And I have some numbers here I'd like
Mm-hmm.
to speak on. Uh, I think the answer to that is a hard yes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, not too deep, but, we can start out with the NAACP, the
Mm-hmm.
EEOC, the ACLU, a
Mm-hmm.
newer one called GARE. I think they may call it Gary or GAR. And then you have the Alliance on Racial Equality.
Mm-hmm.
You have the ARP, American Rescue Plan, specifically set up which has sweeping, scary power if you look into it. It's a newer organization uh, anyway, and it's set up specifically for the immediate relief to black families. It's supposedly, and this is what the organization states on the website, that they have reduced black poverty. This is also on the White House website, whitehouse.gov. Over 30%, they've reduced black poverty. Their goal is to reduce all black poverty by reversing decades of disinvestment through bipartisan infrastructure law. They put over 1.6 billion to expand government power to support black and minority owned businesses, aka to discriminate against one group of people uh, only. And as we saw in Ohio, if it is about that, the poor whites aren't going to be paid attention to. They've also released $2.9 billion from the EPA, a non supposedly racial group, solely for minority communities to have help in for health and things of that nature. They've also released 100 billion for small black business owners. In addition to that, HUD is ran by and focused on mainly black men and women. It's ran by black women, and it's literally in the process of rewriting the bylaws for HUD to benefit specific black folks. Then you have once again ARP, the American Restoration, excuse me, the American Rescue Plan. ARP comes back in, and they have created agencies to work with the USDA, they are creating an equity commission to team up to reduce discrimination via multiple assessments of newly operating data to focus on all minorities affected to take care of them more. And this is all to the tunes of hundreds of billions of dollars, specifically to even the playing field or potentially repair damage. In addition to that, there are new DOT regulations to ensure no discrimination, either intent. So, if I decide that you're discriminating in your mind against someone, I can withhold government contracts or effect. Now, of course, effect I can agree with. If the contract I award you ends up disenfranchising or hurting people, I don't want you to have that contract. However, intent is a little different. They've also released $5.8 billion to HBCUs to level the play. It's so hard for me to say that on a personal, but we're gonna keep rolling. And then 200 million for a maternal mortality for minorities program, specifically focusing on my mortality rates in minority babies solely and only. Then you have CVI, the Community Violence Intervention Program, that is working on 500 billion, and this is once again on the website. 500 billion has been pulled from other programs, and they're seeking another 5 billion for community and hospital-based programs for minority-based violence in underserved communities. And then the DOJ actually is doing broad reviews to ensure equity, not equality, but the DOJ is now doing broad reviews to ensure equity across all of the DOJ's departments. And then you have more legal aid funding being raised right now, hiring practices, tax breaks for hiring people of color. And those people of color have received a free education because they're people of color, giving them a leg up versus other minorities or, poor whites for that matter. And then they've said specifically they're going to be giving priority to hiring black judges, specifically due to the fact that they are black. And then finally, FEMA policies have changed solely for black families. And as they say, many more changes to ensure equity. Now, do we keep all of these programs if we incorporate reparations? And how are these programs not considered reparations?
So, do we keep them all? I'm not going to say we keep them all. Fuck the NAACP and a lot of those organizations, right? Because a lot of them are. If you look at the organizers, the actual creators of the NAACP, they are not black. They like majority of them are light as fuck. All right, majority of them light as fuck, and they've all been doing the bidding and the needs of these people since the beginning. So, do we keep them all? No. Do we keep the idea of some of the things that we do keep? Yeah, we keep what we need to keep, and we throw out the rest. But we make sure that they're handled accordingly because all those things are good on its face, right? It sounds great, and it would be a way of showing that this is a true intent of trying to repair some things. First of all, you have to actually say, like, you need a formal apology, if you would, a formal addressing of, hey, this has been fucked up from here to here. And we're not going to do it anymore. And everybody should be willing to step up and say, hey, this is fucked up from here to here. Now, I got some redundant. Okay, MWBE programs. Let's talk about MWBE programs. Been around for some years, right? And on its face, it's supposed to help minorities, right? But telling you from someone who's on the inside, do you know who gets a lot of these contracts?
No,
No.
I'm an uneducated white conservative.
Okay.
I have no idea. Yeah,
Okay.
no,
Well, let me put you on. This was funny because somebody told me last night that we need to speak more at private, or not private, but local politics. We need to pay attention more to local business and local politics, right? So I'm someone who we know that I do. White women are getting a lot of the minority contracts, right? And the white women are getting the minority contracts on the face while the husband runs the business. All right. So there's ways to getting around, and they've been getting around it. I've been in business since I was 12 years old. I've been right there with my dad doing business, getting contracts. Now, I'm not going to say that I don't get contracts for, being a black man. It does happen, but you also got to be a little bitter. You know what I'm saying? It's not like an actual even playing field. Like you still have to be blow bitter. And they don't always give it to you, right? They'll give it to you and they'll take it from you on some lying shit. And then it's up to you to fight for it and get it back. So like it's not really truly being redressed, right? It's like you're putting it on paper for a feel good story, right? And then you're moving forward. You're not saying that, hey, we're laying this out to make you feel good, think that you're getting this, and it's on paper, and it seems like we're giving a good, good faith effort. But in all actuality, we're not really trying to fix what's going on, right?
Okay, and not to interrupt, but from the standpoint, how is that the poor white taxpayer's fault that the government isn't treating you fair? Right? There's a
The
guy
same
that lives
reason,
in. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
opposite, the same reason, I'm saying that it's not treating you fair. You know what I'm saying? Get your ass up and again, file your if you have a true grievance, right? If you have a true grievance where you see that they are putting forth good effort to hold you back, to not allow you to move forward, no, bro, smack that ass. You know what I'm saying? Smack that ass. No, I'm a man and I am going to speak, and you're not going to do me any wrong. And if you're doing it wrong and you're making money on it, we have a problem. We have a serious problem. And a lot of these organizations are slush funds. The ones that you mentioned where they send this money, right? We know how the government we got it's so funny. The chick in Illinois, right? Tiffany Henyard, she got in on the game. She just did it stupidly, right? You get up in the government and you're sending them money to your nonprofit organization. You're writing off giving money to your nonprofit for whatever event. That's what they do. And these people, they're their friends. They're their donors.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
I
trust
mean,
those people, you know?
in a point of agreement, I think we can agree on here. CVI, if you look it up, it's the Community Violence Intervention Program. They
Mm-hmm.
pulled $500 billion over, I think it was 16 other programs to combat community violence in poor and minority neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
Ask anybody in Baltimore how that's working out. You know what I mean? Ask
It's not.
anybody in New York,
Look,
LA,
so the question, how many of
Houston.
them own their property,
Right. Well, and
right?
if you dig a little bit deeper, it's all about disarming. It's a $500 billion. They pulled $500 billion from other programs to
Mm-hmm.
basically push laws and TV commercials to get you to give up guns. But they say it's
Mm-hmm.
a community violence intervention program, and then they're putting money into hospitals to treat people that have been wounded. None of this helps. Like really, you know what I mean? Like I
Not at
understand.
all.
Yes, I want shot people to be helped in hospitals, of course, but this is not, in my opinion, where that money should be going, and trying to disarm the population. Name one person that is in a quote unquote bad neighborhood, a neighborhood where they don't feel safe, and they got to lock up all their doors and all of
Mm-hmm.
that. I mean, on a real level, or that crime is high. Name one person who goes, man, I'm so glad Biden put $500 billion into keeping my neighborhood safer, because boy, I can sure tell. I don't know anybody like that
No,
anywhere.
no
So
one, no one. And that's where I say, that money could be spent better. Again, when people ask, I don't think it's monetary. Like we're spending the money anyway. And they're showing us how they can take money from one place and move it to another place. All right.
right.
If they're showing us that they can take money from one place and move it to another place, then I'm saying, right, as a person who is suffering victim, because yeah, Biden, you may be trying to do community violence intervention, but bitch, I didn't forget about the previous administration that you were part of, where you guys were a major hand in it, Operation Fast and Furious. Miss me with that bullshit, right? I'm saying as a person who knows about Operation Fast and Furious that no, you guys did that purposely, right? Operation Fast and Furious was in the 2000s because it was during Obama's administration where they put the guns into the neighborhoods, right?
Well, and
And
don't
cause certain things to happen.
and then
So,
the Bushes flying the drugs in from China
yes,
as president and dropping those off in Arkansas so the Clintons could have literally their own crack factories to put
Yep.
that into the communities so they
Yep.
could put money into law enforcement. And then you
Yep.
have Joe Biden back in the day going, this one piece of crack should put a black man in prison. He didn't say it exactly like that, but come on, Joe. We know what you were
We
saying.
know what he was saying.
20 years in prison for this one rock of crack, and then fast forward 30 years, and his son is leaving way more than that amount in the way. So yeah, no, he's a hypocrite. See, this is what I didn't want to do because I knew you were going to make good enough points where I was going to have to agree with you. But no, we're going
Hey
to.
man, but
Ow,
see,
ow.
this is but that is the thing
Oh,
though, right?
yeah.
This is where I want conservatives to understand. It is cross-platformable. You understand? We're just speaking up. We're fed up. There's a debt. Oh, we have a long list of shit that was done to us, whether it was, you know, blacks being held against their, against their will, making money for a family to make money to put into the economy, to pay their taxes onto the government while making money and making trade, right? That was done not only in the before we had cell phones, but all the way up through with it, to where the point where we broke that. We started building our own businesses, and the people were so upset with these businesses that was being created that they destroyed these businesses, all right? And they had their friends in the government turn a blind eye. That is not what a government does. And that's from the 1920s to the 1940s, 50s, even 60s, right? Where we have businesses that was destroyed. And that's money, right? This is how families allow their families to move forward, by having generational businesses to pass down and to raise and train their kids in. We also have people who owned homes. There's a lot of people now. Again, there I don't know what happened to the poor white to where they're in a trailer park and they don't own, or whatever the case may be. I don't know the family lineage history, but again, if your history and your family's legacy shows that you had, but someone took and the government allowed and turned a blind eye, then you should be able to speak up and move forward. If your granddaddy was a motherfucking drunk and a gamble and he lost his shit by being a drunk and a gamble, I'm fucking sorry. You know what I'm saying? If you had and that's how they lost, I'm fucking sorry. But if you had and they took, if you was you're descendant of a person who's, hey boy, you got till 6 o'clock to get you and your family out of here, or we're going to get you out of here for good, right? And this is 30 acres, 40 acres, 300 acres, and you can prove that happened and the government just allowed it, bro, they owe you. Bro, they owe you. And that's my thing, right? It is, if you were done wrong and the people who's supposed to protect you allows the wrong to continue, then speak up. And I'm just speaking as a black person who can, again, I can run the gamut just from, I can go from the 2000s all the way back. I don't want to go all the way back because it gets people all loopy. Oh, you was never a slave. Okay, fine. I can argue that I was a slave because the 13th Amendment says that slavery was abolished except for in a punishment of a crime where duly convicted by a jury of your peers. Literally, what the 13th Amendment says doesn't say that slavery doesn't exist anymore. It just says you commit a crime that the lawmakers make, you go to court with the lawmakers fund, and then you're going to be a slave if your peers, a jury of your peers, right, says that you're guilty. And my peers would be anyone from the ages of 25 to 45, right? That should be my jury. And they should look like me or think like me, listen to the same music. These are my peers. My peers are not a bunch of old people. Those are not my peers. All right. So I've been shitted
Right.
and been thrown into slavery, just like many white people have been shitted by the court system and thrown into slavery. So you have forms of redress. It's just the fact
And
of,
you're speaking of
can you
current slavery.
formulate that? I'm just speaking, I'm from current slavery on back. It was there, whether I've been a slave and my family members have been thrown into the jail, my grandfather, my father, whatever the case may be. It's still, I don't want to hear about the no slavery argument because slavery still exists here today and it was codified by the 13th Amendment. So we can throw that out the window. May not have been a chattel slave, but slavery nonetheless.
And once again, think that was wrong. And so what we're kind of saying to wrap that, and correct me if I'm wrong. As I said, there are hundreds of billions, nearing $1 trillion that is put every year by the taxpayers of all races and colors. However, if you look at the tax burden, it falls mainly on white folks pay the most into the system via taxes because there's the most of us, and then we can argue other things. But just if we lived in a majority Latino place, they would pay the most taxes, that kind of thing. So, white people pay the most taxes and the most into a government that is paying almost $1 trillion, hundreds of billions of dollars to right the wrongs or even that out. And correct me if I'm wrong, what I hear you saying is that money's not getting where it needs to go. I think I absolutely can agree with that from just looking at our communities and how supposedly every year there's more, funds created and more groups created and more money pulled from other places, supposedly for more equity. Yet we only
Mhm.
see less equity or less opportunity for all Americans. However, these things hit Black Americans harder because a lot of them are in more vulnerable places financially and community wise. So if I said, okay, all in, I got the 500 billion, then the other 5 billion, then the 5.8, then the 1.2 here and there, add it all up. Let's just call it an even trillion, right? Let's
Mhm.
just, make it easy and call it a trillion. Would you vote tomorrow if we put it on a bill? Okay, so and then who would you choose to be the leader? That would be a problem too. That would be on you. You would choose that money instead of going where it's going now and all those policies for black people to just basically be able to have that money almost in like a black caucus or distributed evenly throughout the community where you would have more control over it and be able to do what you would want to do. And would you say that that is a form of reparations, or would you accept that as a form of reparations?
I would accept it only if, first of all, it would have to be an amendment, right? It would have to be an amendment. I don't want to act. I want an amendment. I don't want, I want them to have to work to be able to repeal and remove this situation, right? I would want the 21st, 22nd century Freedmen's Bureau, right? Because I am establishing myself in status as a true freedman from any type of wrong feeling I have to you for what was done, right? I want this established, right? I want it in writing that these funds are for this. This bureau is created, and the people with proven lineage to any type of redress comes here, right? And when you come here, you apply. You are a part of this. Like once you come in, you are a part of running this, right? And in being a part of running this, because these are your funds, right? So with this being your funds, you have access to all this thing, your financial literacy, you have your education control, everything in your house that you can think of that's going to establish you to have power in your community where you can be functional, right? And actually be contributing to society properly, right? It is all here. Whichever door you think you can walk in, it is all here. Um, um, Community service, food, business, worship, religion, education, home ownership, everything that you need is right here. There's a door for you to go into, right? And it's your door for how you see fit, right? President Trump got that. That's why he put us in the White House. That's why he bought the HBCU initiative into the White House, gave them an office in the White House with open door policy, right? Everything is at your disposal, right? Every one of these organizations that fall up under the executive branch that he had power of, he established them to create priorities and open the door to the HBCUs, right? He put the communities back into the HBCUs. A lot of us didn't take advantage of it because we didn't see what it was, but it was there. This is reparations. This is making forms to repair what's being done, right? Put it in paper. Make it an amendment to the Constitution. Hey, Listen, we're addressing it just like a treaty. These treaties aren't necessarily. I mean, they kind of are extensions to the Constitution in a form, right? They're not, enumerated as amendments. They're acts, they're treaties. They're looked at, just together. You honor treaties and a Constitution just the same. That's the way this country is written. So you do that, right? Give us that money. Let us handle it. Put it in a new Freedmen's Bureau type situation. Say that, hey, we fucked up, and here's what we fucked up. Here's what we tried to fix it, but you know what? We fucked up, and we let them take over and destroy these people again. We move forward. We see where they were fucked up in the 20s, where their businesses were burnt down. We see where their houses was taken from them. We see where they were ran out. We see where they couldn't truly establish anything. We see where we in the government had things like the FBI that had particular projects like the Black Messiah Project that made sure that there was no one that would come up in the ranks of Black people to get them on the path of building and moving forward. This was the government. All right. So I'm addressing that this is what y'all did, and y'all have to say we fucked up and we did this and this was wrong. And because we did this, this is how we're repairing it. Right? If we can
Absolutely.
say Japanese, we fucked up in World War II and we shouldn't have thrown y'all in internment camps. Here's your check. Right? You can say Black people, we fucked up with the FBI, we fucked up with the CIA, we fucked up with, even the EPA. We talk about the Environmental Protection Agency, and they put these factories that they know put poisons in the air, and they all typically always now they happen in white neighborhoods too, but for the most
Still does,
part,
yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? It happens in white neighborhoods too. You got the Rust Belt. You got a lot of fucking white people working in those steel mills and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it was very close to their neighborhoods. They knew it was wrong. So now, those people, and a lot of them do, they go sue. You see the commercials on TV. Do you suffer from mesothelioma? You know what I'm saying? Like that's them. That's at that, but that's an actual business. Whether it was them saying, "Hey, we messed up. Let's pay these people this money," or they actually went to court and sued, and then the government say, "Hey, you guys messed up, so you need to pay these people for what you did." Those are a form of reparations, and they
Absolutely.
have a business or office set up for that to take care of paying those people. So yes, U.S. government, I would take that money if given to us to handle and run appropriately, along with the control of our schools, the control of doing business, the control of our farms, and XYZ.
Absolutely. So I hear you, and I understand that, and I think that too much money is going for programs, and a lot of that money goes to set up programs for programs. Literally, you read, and it's a group has come to FEMA to set up an advisory board to then set up a group that then inspects things to figure out, and that's just money laundering. So I
Right.
agree there. The concern, of course, would be how does the money get spent properly? You don't want to just hand over $1 trillion to anyone unaccountable because there are bad people. There are people that will use it negatively. And then, one of the arguments you hear is what is enough, right? When
Mm-hmm.
when will it be enough? And that leads me to, what is the cost that the average white man has to pay? The problem nowadays that a lot of white people feel is if I ever say anything to defend white people and now their place in America, I'm racist. I'm not caring. I don't understand the plight. I'm an oppressive jackass who is bathed in privilege. But other than these hard costs that we've just discussed, that Americans, all taxpayers, are currently paying to try to level the playing field. There's other things that the white race is suffering through that I think might be a condition or a symptom of the damning of the culture because of the past that we didn't have anything to do with. So, for instance, what race is suffering from in America? What race is suffering from the highest form of suicide right now? By far, dying off the quickest via suicide. That's the white race. What race is the only race that it is okay via government contracts to specifically discriminate against and say, you did not get this because of your race. You did not get this opportunity. You did not get this scholarship. Did not get this government contract. You did not get this loan because your skin color, and even though we can't prove it, and you might have come from dirt farmers, literally, the problem is you have blonde hair, blue eyes, therefore someone who had it less good than you, even though we have no proof other than based on skin color, right? That kind of thing there. So whites are the only one you can do that with. And that's even on paper, right? What race are you financially incentivized not to work with? Right? Meaning, if I'm a contractor and I go out right now, I get tax breaks for working with certain people. There are other people that are undocumented, so it's actually financially, I'm incentivized to pay the undocumented. Not saying it's right, but there's one group of people, and that is registered white men, that you are financially incentivized to put to the back of the line or to, work with the last. In
So
addition to
who's
that,
doing that?
white folks are the ones that are I'm sorry,
I was saying who's doing
say
that?
again.
Who's doing that?
Who's doing
Who is
the
putting it?
federal
Who's
government?
putting it on paper? And that's a bunch of what?
That is reparations.
No, no, no. Who is the government? A bunch of what?
White men.
Old white men.
Yeah, no, I
Okay,
know, but that's
it's a bunch of old white men, and it's
I'm
what it
I'm,
is.
get,
Is
I'm getting to that.
go ahead, go ahead.
Right. Anyway, and then in addition to that, what race has the most crime committed against them? White folks, without it being paid attention to. And conversely, can you charge a black man with a hate crime? You can, but it's very hard. And let's look up the number of hate crimes charged against black men versus white men, or black women, or white folks versus any other group of people, period. White men, that is a specific thing that the federal government has done to extra charge us or to charge us more for crimes because of simply the intent. Meaning, if I don't like somebody and I commit the exact same crime you do, I have to go to jail or suffer a harsher punishment because of my skin color, because I didn't like you as much as you didn't like me. So once again, being treated unfairly, or not fairly, uh, because of your race, I feel like we can all kind of understand. And once again, a better way to look at it is, to make sure that everybody who suffered through this has been taken care of. In that vein, there's no mention anywhere of protection for white men or poor white folks or white people in poverty. Right? It's usually black people, minorities, and then poor people, poor whites. Right? And then, if I may, what about culture? How many words do you get to say that I don't under threat of violence, right? And that's because my great-great-grandfather was mean to your great-great-grandfather. Therefore, you get to tell me what I can and can't say. Now, we may not be able to put a cost price on that, but we know for sure a whole lot of people make a whole lot of money saying words that I'm not allowed to say, or I'll be deplatformed, lose my job, that kind of thing. So, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong necessarily. I'm saying it is something that does exist in America, right?
Mhm.
Now, in addition to that, with culture, how much violence, hatred, and discrimination do you get away with on social media towards white men? We can all see it. Does any group of people have to endure the amount of hatred and discrimination and violence threatened towards them in mass media, and it's mass accepted the way white folks do, right? And then how much is life worth would be the end of that. Because if we're just going to do a what you owe me versus what I owe you, and we tally up what the true cost it is for black people for reparations, does life play into that? For instance, Grant's March to the Sea. Okay, we know for a fact that there were innocent women and children and men that were murdered, bloodlines destroyed as well on the white side of things. And in addition to that, there were over 1 million lives that were lost fighting to end slavery. Now, we can say that wasn't the front end of the war. That is fair. But we also agree that at the end of the day, it is a pretty much agreed thing that the Civil War was fought over slavery. And a lot of white people went to that war and died for slavery.
And
So
then they allowed the after the hard work was done, right? Which is what I spoke on earlier. They said, okay, we fought. Let's just say we fought this for slavery. We're going to end it. We're going to make sure everybody is on the equal playing field, and you're going to go handle your business. Here's your house. Here's your property. You earned this because you put into these businesses that were being ran, right? They made money off of them, and the only thing you got paid with was your life, all right? And if I found out you knew how to read, I'd kill you, boy. And if I see that you knew that you was counting stuff or paying attention to stuff that wasn't for you to pay, I kill you, boy. Right? So these people realized that that was a problem and said, okay, here we go. We're going to fix this. This is yours. And then it was taken away from you. And then from then, okay, the 1860s, right? Early 1900s. So let's just say 1860s. From the fighting of the 1860s, Reconstruction. During the Reconstruction, you're being destroyed. You're getting your things taken from you. You're not able to represent yourselves in Congress, and that's what you're supposedly allowed to do, right? You're not able to represent yourselves in Congress properly. Um, we'll find a new way to sneak in, sharecropping, whatever the case may be, right? To keep you from really progressing and moving forward. Again, I'm not asking for this just because I'm black. I'm saying be able to prove that I come from a lineage where I was egregiously done wrong by the government, right? As far as the white people who are, paying the taxes, the bulk share of the taxes, and that money was gone regardless, right? That money was gone regardless, and you didn't know where it was going, and you still don't know where it's going. But to at least see it go to a community that can build one side of your city up, right? Let's just take downtown Savannah. Let's just take Savannah again. It's a great place because this is where Lincoln and them came to the understanding of, oh shit, we really have a lot of black people that are freed slaves, freed men who all they knew, all these people knew, all they knew was following behind a white man and doing what he says without being killed. A lot of these people were bred into captivity. For hundreds of years, this is all they know. This is just like when I tell people, it's like fighting dogs or prize dogs, right? You always get dogs that come from a particular bloodline, right? This best of show was breeding with this best of show, and they're creating best of show babies. It was the same thing with slavery. This is all they knew. So they sat down and was like, dang, that happened. We got all these people who died crossing this creek, following behind us, not staying in building, whatever the case may be. We have to do something about that. And they came up with field order number 15, and then it evolved into the Freedmen's Bureau. Right? Have that redress. You knew it was wrong. Go ahead. Put it on paper. Let it be what it be. It's going to build them up. And in turn, it's going to do business with the others. Because now, again, we don't move in a way of, I hate white people. Not all of us. You got some jackasses out there that feel that way. Just like you got some jackass white people out there that feel like, oh, I hate black people. You got jackass Asians that say, I hate white and black people. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a mindset of people that
you got
has to
Latinos
be
about to take the whole thing over. So
the whole thing. While everybody's arguing with this, the Latinos are sneaking in, and they come in with the guns. You know what I'm saying? They're coming with the illicit economies to get the money to move forward. So all I'm saying is, let us build us up. Well, we don't even want to talk about what the American government allowed Latinos to do on the West Coast, and some say, and we can say Central America as well.
That's yeah. So I hear you there. And that's to kind of get back on that topic and to ask you to kind of, what about culture? What about the fact that white people are generally currently disenfranchised in culture? And what I mean by that is right now, I can go on Twitter, I can go on Facebook, I can go on Instagram, I can go on wherever, and I can say white people have done wrong to all races in America because of a selfish, narcissistic, and mental illness that they don't understand that they have, right? I can post that right now. It will not be taken down. There will not be hate. You know what I mean? Anybody that responds is going to be called like a stupid racist person, right? Now, if I
Mhm.
switched and changed the word white to any trans, gay, black, anything else, I would, you know what I mean? They would take my stuff down. My account might be suspended, that kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
In addition to that, there are just, certain words that, that are allowed to be used by everyone other than white people, right?
Or black
Um,
people. I've been in that boat too. I called Charlemagne a Negro after Biden said the word Negro, when Negro was once an acceptable class written and codified in the United States of America. Motherfuckers took my Twitter account after calling him, and all I said was be a good
right?
Negro.
I don't even know why I'm talking to you. You're not. Yeah, I don't know why I'm talking to you about this. You're not black. You didn't vote for Biden, so I don't.
Yeah, allegedly,
You were having a problem deciding. Yeah, that's so
allegedly.
offensive. Anyway, I'm sorry. We should. Yeah. And so okay, so culturally, that's an issue. I think a lot of whites feel like they have. And then, but that I think we can work on because culture does the pendulum does swing. Here's a question that I
Mhm.
think is very important that I just don't see addressed, and that is if slavery and discrimination on the level that black people have faced in America, if that is basically the root and the cause of so much evil and so much pain, why aren't we spending near as much time and effort on current slave states and the current profitable slave trade going on the planet? From Northern Africa to the Middle East to the indentured servitude of, the Asian caste systems that are going on right now. Should we demand reparations from Africa, seeing as how that's pretty much where the slave trade came from? And in addition to that, what about current black businesses that we can prove are successful that were built on uh, the backs of the effort of slave people in America, enslaved people is in America. I don't know the right way to say it. And then, in addition to that, if we do just hand out checks and decide we're going to take care of people like that, how has that worked out for the Native Americans? As we know, reservations are really rough places currently in America that are very poor and struggling. And it wasn't until we allowed them to just do their own business that they started thriving. Being in a state that, oddly enough, in my state, we clearly have a huge Native American population compared to others, and I also live in the state that Black Wall Street happened, right? So I am aware that the government can come in and mess stuff up there. So my thought there is, so we go back and then do we make black business owners that are doing well pay reparations as well? Do we trace it back? Some estimates were that only 25% of all black people in America can trace any lineage back to slavery because they were, you know, not here as slaves. They did not come here as slaves. So I understand if you're saying that reparations should also be made for things other than slavery, for the discrimination, for the sundowning, for the evils of white race groups and things of that nature. However, do you feel like how culture has changed that's better? And then how do we legitimately address the numbers there and make sure that only the responsible parties are paying for reparation? Or do you feel like it might be better if we overall decide to just funnel some of the hundreds of billions into programs that will help Black people immediately, put the title of reparations on it, and then that way we move forward without division?
So that's a fucking lot to unpack. So we're going to
You're right.
we're
You're
going
right.
to take that
My
piece by
turn.
piece.
Man, you hit me like with 10 minutes worth of stuff. So fair
You're
enough.
right. No, you're right. That's cool. That's cool. No, I'm just saying that's a lot. I'm got questions for me to answer. And I'm like, sheesh. I'm sitting here trying to write notes, but we can, as I miss something, you could just throw them at me. All right.
Absolutely.
So let's just start at the beginning. um we're talking about America. I mean, going after slavery in America and getting America to pay reparations, but do we focus on, the other countries around the world that are currently slave states right here, right now? My answer to that is eventually we can focus on them, but listen, I'm MAGA baby, America first. All right. So we're gonna focus on America first. We're gonna focus on, what I'm saying, Black Americans, African Americans, who are proven descendants of bull crap that was done to them. Again, my redress isn't, solely on slavery, right? It isn't solely on slavery, but that is one thing that I can point to, that eventually we can have the conversation when a person's mind can actually form and understand what happened between them to keep a person down, right? So there it is, America first, and then we can attack the African countries or other places that have slave states right now. Um, Now, speaking on Africa and slavery, since we know that Africa participated in the slave trade, excuse me, do we go after them about selling people into slavery? I say no, right? And the reason why I say no is because although slavery was happening at that time in Africa, it was a different mindset when it came to slavery. That was People were treated a lot more humanely in African slavery, right, as opposed to the chattel slavery that participated in America, right? And I wouldn't rush to go to charge Africa. I would rush to go charge Europe, right? The king, the Vatican, these places that was actually funneling. Like, we can prove that the Royal African Company was a company of the crown that was purchasing and bringing the slaves that they did bring over to America, right? But there was
In
a point.
Spain,
And
mainly
Spain,
Spain.
right, right, right.
Yeah.
Spain too, right? These
They
are
had
people
that
who were
they had that
participating in
slave
it.
trade down. Like Spain was very good at that, believe
They
it or
were
not.
very good, right?
That's why the
So
first
we
pirates were Spanish. So yeah.
we could go after them. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that. Like we could go after them, right? But my grievance is, again, with the country that is supposed to be protecting its citizens, right? That allowed certain things to happen. And we could go after them once we have to, in my own heart, if I'm America, I would have that in mind. Hell yeah, I'm about to go after the Spanish crowns that still have money, in Spain that has money that we can prove that was a part of this. Hell yeah, I'm about to go after Queen Elizabeth's fortune and whatever's going on over there in Buckingham Palace because they was a part of it. I'm gonna get my check back from them. You motherfucking right, I'm gonna do it. But in order to get that money from them, let me go ahead and say, hey y'all, I'm with y'all, so we can all turn around and go together, package up a form, and send it over to them to get our money back. And then you'll get whatever money you paid to black people, and you probably gonna put a finder's fee or a fuck nigga fee on it and get you some extra money on top of what you just put out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could go about it like that. But my mission is for America, since we're saying we're America first, and I'm a conservative. I'm about conserving history. I'm about economic growth. I'm about educational growth. I'm about families and structures being set up properly. I'm about the government doing right by its people. This is a form to move to small government, smaller government. Hey, you know what? The government was too big. We fucked up. We're sorry. Here you go. Boom. Go do your thing. Merry Christmas. All right. That's just how I feel about that. Um, the numbers. You said something about the numbers and funneling money. Um, Yeah, I really want to remove them as much as possible. Like once we show that we have established our lineage, this is what it is. Here you go. Here's your ticket. Y'all, you already know where y'all hitting the business at. Y'all go ahead and you do your thing, right? Less government as possible. Um, there were some other things that you said. What didn't I smack on?
So
Oh,
okay, let me just hit on what you just said. One of the things, and I do have a genuine issue with this, and that is this whole nice slavery theory. It's
hmm
just not true. It was African men who first sold. It was American men living in America in New York that were black that first sold slaves in America. We
hmm
know this. This is factual. In addition to that, it was Africans who taught all the other people how to pack slaves onto a ship. We know this. There's documented proof of how to put them in the low deck and stack them basically on top of each other and use drainage for their bathroom and stuff like that. So as much as we want to say, hey, look, Africa was nice to their slaves, so slavery is cool in that situation, and we'll let them off the hook versus every other, people that ever had slaves or even current slaves because we want to get ours from the white man now. And that's fair, but I feel like that falls short. I don't think that we can dismiss any slavery and go, these are nicer people. I mean, right now, the indentured servitude, where people are considered, to be owned unless they make enough money to literally buy themselves out of freedom, currently in Africa and the Middle East. Whereas in China, they're just straight servants for life. You know what I mean? It's kind of a slave. But the simple idea there is that there's no such thing as nice slavery or slavery light. If you take a man and you take his freedom away from him, whether you, because I know for a fact there are many stories of people who were very close to their slaves in America. There were white men who willed their entire, when they died, they willed their entire estate to slaves, right? So if we want to make the argument that people aren't accountable for owning slaves if they were nice to them, I feel like that's not an actual. I don't feel like I don't feel like that's a starter. And then past that, I feel like wrong is wrong. And it's like, well, he had a good intention when he did this thing, whereas this guy had a bad intention. They still did the bad thing, right? So that was my only point of tension there. Is that we know for a fact that all slavery was exported originally from Africa, and that they still to this day do it. They still send people to Syria and put them on an auction block. So this is a profitable business that has been going on for a long time. And to that point, white Americans are one of the only groups of people who have fought and died to end that in their country, right? So that was just my point of contention there, man. I'm sorry. Now I might be in real problems, and I'm not trying to
it's
fight you.
not. It's not.
I'm
It's
just
not.
saying I hate that
It's.
nice slavery line because it's just not
I,
true. We know
I
for a fact
mean,
that slave owners are bad to their slaves. They treat them like it's
not
like
all
if
not slave owners are like now that's a myth, right? That is a
they okay.
that now more often than not, yes, but all inherently no. That's just like saying that all white people are inherently racist. Like that's just not true. Could it be a good bit? Yes. Is it all? No, absolutely not. You have some people who knew that, listen, black people are treated horribly, and they're as by a lot of people. But if you have a quote unquote master, they're typically they're not going to treat you no worse than what the master treats you. And if they do, then there's a problem. So on paper, I'll have you as a slave, right? But in all actuality, no, you're my friend. But I'm doing this to essentially save your life because we are in a very tumultuous time and a very tumultuous place. You understand? So I'm not going to. So I can't go with that because I know in history where that did exist, right? Just like I can speak on, the whole good slavery, bad slavery. Like we know that it is like it's highly known, especially in the black community, that although there were particular tribes, like tribes were warring, slavery was a whole situation of there was a war that took place, bitch, you lost, we got you, you know what I'm saying? We're going to move you on, whatever. But they were at least treated to some sense of like decorum and respect. Like there's conversations with blacks. Like that's why there is such a divide, right? Because believe it or not, and this is why I say reparations shouldn't be based on skin color. It should truly be based on lineage, right? There is a huge divide between Africans, right? People from African nations and Black Americans, all right? A lot of African nations, people who grew up, stayed on the land, from the land, they look at us like, yo, what the fuck are y'all? Akata is what a lot of them tend to call us, right?
Right.
On some BS, not realizing that, there's people who are finding out like, damn, they got over here and they were treated horribly in chattel slavery. No wonder they didn't come back home. No wonder they didn't do such, they have no attachment to over here. We weren't even allowed to have an attachment over here. We had no idea. We had no idea. That's the story that's coming from a lot of them. We had no idea. And that's where you have uh a Ghana, right? Where they're doing a right to abode, right? And descendants of the diaspora are able to come back to Ghana and get a dual citizenship and actually build and do things because they had no, a lot of them had no idea what, like, it was really a question of what the fuck, right? So you have Africa, right? That is, or Ghana, and there's other countries as well, but I just speak on Ghana because I have an attachment to Ghana. You have a Ghana that is stepping forward where they were, they're a Western Coast nation, which means a lot of slave trade was done through Ghana, right? They're like, yo, that's fucked up. We're going to do what we got to do to fix this. And our way of amending it is saying, hey, listen, if you're a child of diaspora, if you're living in America, or you're living in South America, or wherever the case may be, and you want to come back to Ghana, you want to get a dual citizenship, by all means, come on and apply and let's build here, right? You have these people doing this. So because, you have people who are stepping forth and doing this, I think that other nations should also step up and say, hey, listen, we participated in some fucked up shit, yo, let's fix this. And it doesn't have to stop with black people. I'm just black. So I'm going to argue about, I'm saying, the black, side of things. But I would also stand next to, you mentioned Native Americans earlier. I would stand next to them on the same plight, right? I would stand next to, poor whites in trailer parks that sit right up under the paper plant. You know what I'm saying? I would argue with them too to be able to get what is owed for them, especially when they allowed you to be fucked over.
And what's funny is you don't even have to see. I mean, you stood strong, 10 toes. J fourth, I think you were there. Anyway, so look, I just know on a personal level, you're not saying anything that you do not live and don't back up. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you for that. Absolutely, you stand with all oppressed peoples or all peoples who are being ignored or being stepped on because that's just who you are. I absolutely respect that. Uh, and just to hit it one more time, man, and follow that logic with me for a second, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yes, we took slaves after we warred. Okay, so do you understand? If I come into your village as a warring, aggressive tribe, I'm not going to be like, hey, here's a snack. Let me give you a foot rub, and let's talk about why I'm going to take your village over with my people. Usually we come in and we do some damage, usually a lot of damage. And usually we do damage to the things you love quicker than you. Because I can
Mm-hmm.
kill your front line of soldiers and deal with more soldiers. If I take out your family that you love that's in that village because I'm attacking you, you know what I mean? So we're going to say, okay, so they came in and they brutally murdered a bunch of people in a hardcore, violent takeover. And then they were super nice to the ones they took as slaves. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying just on a logic idea and basis there. Now, are there good, which is a weird spinoff here. Are there people that were, from what I know and from what I've studied, white men, white slave owners in America had kind of three classes of slave. And I'm not saying this is right. I don't agree with this. It's gross to just talk about, but from what I've read, just studies here, and they looked at it like your horse, your cattle, your swine. It
Mm-hmm.
was that. You had your low end folks that weren't that strong, weren't that smart, but that, you know what I mean, they could you know what I mean? They could do that really base work, right?
Hmm.
Then you had your strong cattle, the ones that you know that you had. They were important because they could carry the heaviest loads, do the most work, right? And then you had your friends, the ones like your horses. They were special. They were intelligent. You wanted them to get an education because they could train the other ones. They could teach English. They could better themselves. And once again, if I feel like, you know, if I own horses and I have a horse that is smart and fast, you know what I mean? That's a benefit to me. And that's how they looked at it as far as I know. So, yes, some they were very good to and some they were bad to. But I think that's kind of the thing across the way, and that is an issue I have. Is I feel like we let Africa as a nation off the hook for a lot of things it did, and I feel like we let slavery as a whole off the hook now because there's no white people involved. And
Hmm.
I hate to say it as rough as that, but I honestly believe, at least in the mainstream media, which I'm not trying to put on you, but making the point that if white people were involved in slavery anywhere in the world, it would be getting a lot more play. To the point of right now, people are calling for the genocide of white folks in South Africa. And I've heard black Americans go, well, they kind of deserve it. Genocide? Genocide? Or, well, you know, that's to be expected with as bad as they were treated. Okay, fair. But I'm saying, are you sure? You know what I mean? And
And
how do we.
that's that hard line in the middle where it's like you understand both sides. Where it's like, do we really want to call the death of a people like really? But at the same time, you motherfuckers was really like killing people for this. Is like I could see why they want your head on a stake because
Well,
they
okay,
seen their people's heads on the stake. You know what I'm
the
saying?
the
But
original people that did it. What about okay? So, like for instance, Dracus Duplessis, right?
mhm,
The guy was born in the '80s. He has
mhm,
nothing to do with that. They had a watch. If you watched it last night, there was a watch party back in South Africa. It was literally half black, half white folk. It really was sort of
mhm,
like if you had a watch party for me anywhere in Oklahoma, it would be pretty half and half. It just, you know, it just is, right? So, that guy doesn't want to oppress. That guy doesn't deserve to be murdered, right?
right,
Or am I
right.
wrong?
No,
You know
no,
what I
you're
mean?
right.
Like, do we need to
Is
teach a lesson to his
no,
generation, or
no.
you know what I
Unless his
mean?
generation is with the fuck shit, no, absolutely not. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's to who it's just due on. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I'm at with this. To who it's just due on. Again, you know, if there was a movement, I'm not. My focus is I don't care. Although I do care, I don't care about going after Africa for reparations. Right? I don't care about truly going after Spain for reparations. I'd argue I don't care about going after Europe or anybody else. It was there and it was the right reasons. Again, I would stand 10 toes down with you with handling your business. But I am going after the people who are supposed to protect me and my rights as an American citizen. All right. You failed in that and you profited on your failure in that while I became more indebted. There's an issue. We will redress it. Where we'll address it, and then we will form a redress for the grievance that was addressed. All right. And then we can go forward with everything else. But it is America first. So I'm an American dealing with my grievances with the American government. And then we can talk about everything else, but this is about America. And I don't want to attack Mike, and I don't want to attack John, and I don't want to attack Glenn, and I don't want to attack Billy. It's not my mission. I am attacking the government. And if there's a Glenn or a Billy or a Tom that's in these positions that is giving me fight back about why they shouldn't be listening to my grievances from the 80s or the 60s, right? Because It was my dad that was kicked in the ass for drinking out the wrong water fountain and a young sharecropper. Wasn't my great grandma, wasn't my, I mean, it was them, but I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about my dad, right? I'm talking about my dad whose business was destroyed for legit jealousy and not going along with the government, right? My dad. It's not that far removed. Not that far removed when addressing the wrongdoings that was allowed to happen, and they just la 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 la. You know, that's all it is. It's not a. The problem comes when a lot of white people, white conservatives, emotionally or just really jump in front of it, right? To take the bullets for something. If there's nothing for me to take a bullet for, bitch, I'm stepping to the side. You got it. I ain't got nothing to do with that. You know what? I huh? My mama called me down the street. I heard I got to go. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Absolutely.
not getting in front of the bullet. And I think if a lot more would just not get in front of the bullet, we'll be like, oh yeah, boy, you fucked up right there, boy. That's it. That's on you, pimp. I'm out of here. Much easier. We could get the reparations check. And you want to know the secret about the reparations check? That like the money that would be given to black. You want to know the real secret about it? It's like that episode of Dave Chappelle. All right. Hide your money, y'all. His broke people around. They went and bought cars and everything, and that money went right back into the pockets of who?
White people, mainly the taxes, because it's every dollar is taxed 5, 6 times. So it really, yeah. So
They're essentially lending their tax money out to get their tax money right back.
yeah, right. Okay, man. So I'd like to wrap this with a. I hope I've done a solid job of presenting some valid arguments from a point of view of someone who does not feel racist, but maybe doesn't understand the need for reparations.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'd like to do is to end with kind of the magic. I like the magic wand question, right? So you're very clear on your intent and what you want, and you know what I mean, and that kind of thing. And for my closing statement, I'd like to say there are simply two classes. Why I believe reparations aren't the best in this scenario, in this argument specifically, is because I believe that there are simply two classes in America now. There are have and have nots. There are
Mm-hmm.
people, and it has gone so far past skin color, specifically because if you look, interracial kids are being born. It's an explosion. You just got to come to my apartment complex pool in the summer. You know what I'm saying? We got, you know what I'm saying? We got African Americans. We got, you know what I mean? Half
African
Latinos.
Americans.
We're doing it. We are turning all black folks mocha, and we're turning all brown folks caramel. You know, it's just what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, we are so intertwined, and our experiences are so dependent and interdependent upon each other. In far as where we live and how we move and where we work and who we work with, that it's all so dependent upon each other. I think a more effective solution may be to come together and figure out how do we take this supposedly near literally, you can once again on the whitehouse.gov site, the nearly trillion that is supposedly being spent specifically in the name of evening the playing field and equity for specifically black folks and minorities. Then how do we take the money that's being spent basically for money laundering, for illegal wars and things like that around the world, and how do we channel that via less taxes, via less EPA and green initiatives, and put that back into our pockets via more freedom and roll back laws that hinder folks from having small businesses and being successful in that way. And I feel like the government is so taxed and they're focus is so delineated over so many different places that if we were to, instead of go, well, we need to fix this for these folks and this for these folks, if we could say all of these folks under this umbrella, we're going to take care of in this way, that very might possibly be a better way because we all are American. Division of races, ignoring the great strides in unity that America has made, the damage via division that the government perpetuates, that we then fall victim to, the economic opportunity that is actual that the government says they're perpetuating, that is a big fraud, actually, because quite honestly, it's not. I got to be honest. There's not a whole lot of help for black folks coming from the government, in my opinion, right now. And I feel like I could sit down with mainly black folks and I would go, how's the government helping you right now? How is the federal government ensuring your safety, your, the people living on that welfare or, sorry, thinking about my family, that economic line that we live on that goes from homeless, I mean, literally that $500 a month that takes you from making it to homeless, right? How do we ensure that doesn't affect all Americans? And then the hurting black folks that need it the most, how do we make sure that they get it so that they have true opportunities? And maybe that's by making sure the people that are hurting the most all over, regardless of race, color, creed, or religion, get it. And then in addition to that, one more thing there, how do we make sure that black men and white men are not further in indentured servitude to their government? And the concern is that reparations could just be one more way that you would have to somehow pay the government back because they feel like you now owe them something. So magic wand, all poor people or all people, white and black, under a certain poverty line would be taken care of. And we would take the money that is currently being spent to help black people and make sure it actually goes to help black people. Therefore, no official reparations, but changing how we spend and what we do to further unify, less dependent on the government, and take the money we're already spending and make it go further. That's my magic wand final argument. Of course, I'll finish with you, Pro.
So I don't disagree with the magic wand theory of helping everyone on the lower level, right? I do think that is highly important. They did push it into a class of just haves and have nots, right? But they evolved that from the blacks having not and making sure that they have not a damn thing. All right. So again, you address that you fucked up. Again, I just want, tell me you fucked up, right? You want closure, tell me you fuck. I want to hear you say, yes, US government fucked up. All right. To you. And here's my apology and what I'm doing, what I'm saying, as a peace offering, right? And then the same to you, now poor white class that I have now mixed into. And let's not forget, and this is a conversation for another time, because again, I'm from Savannah, Georgia, so I do know that there was a such thing as white slaves. Okay. I do know that exists. The haves and have nots have not always just been, whites versus black, because there was some rich whites that really put some poor whites through the ringer, right? But it got to a point to where the rich people were able to convince the poorest white man that they were still better than a black man, right? This is structured. And then they moved forward and they were like, yeah, now we got them, thinking that they're better than them. And meanwhile, we're screwing both of them. Oh yeah. Right? We should address and fix that. I have no problem with a white brother or Indian brother, whoever, saying that, hey, you fucked me over here. So hell yeah, speak up on that. Let's fix it. Let's fix the lower class, right? But when I step up as a black, just as a black person, when I bring my grievance, don't say, well, you just want that because you black. Well, no, you motherfuckers, they did this shit because I was black. That's why they introduced black versus white. Black versus white hasn't always been there. Black versus white didn't come until the goddamn census of 1850. That's when they started, calling us black versus white. It was slaves. It was freedmen. And he was either a slave or you was a freedman or a freeman. That's it. And then in 1850, no, we got to throw this black and this white thing in there. Got to enumerate black and white. And then they kept it perpetuated ever since then. I don't want to say it's a black and white thing, but shit, when I look at my driver's license, this motherfucker says black on it. When I put in for an application, there's a box for me to check fucking black on it. So I'm not asking for this black white shit. I'm just saying, since this is the classification that you guys have put forward since XYZ, and you've been using it ever since, well, guess what? Because of this, here we go. That's it. We can magic wand fix everybody, but when I come forth as a black person and say this is wrong, then I'm gonna respect that. And when something is done by you, white men, and it's wrong, just like right now, the white men are being attacked in America, and it's being put into play by other white men to go attack these white men to simply get money, because again, now it's haves and have-nots. Right? So now they found a way to get more money, but guess what they're doing? They're using even more fucked up white men to get even more money. The white man who wants to chop off his dick and says he's a woman, right? To get even more money. So it's like, I'm not attacking white people, I'm attacking the government. I'm attacking the government and what they're allowed to have. And I just ask that white brothers and sisters understand it's not an attack on y'all. It's not an indictment on y'all. We just going to get what we feel the government owe us. And when we set the standard and show what the business is, then you too, you get these motherfuckers for the way they're attacking you for being white Christians or for being white men or for being, conservative or Trump supporters, whatever the case may be. And guess what? I'll be right along there with you, because I get shit coming at me for being a goddamn Trump supporter. I'll be going to get another check. Fuck it.
Fair.
I'm going to get some more resources. Let's go.
So right now, your perfect vision of reparations, if if Trump was elected, right, and he comes to you, after November, he comes to you December 1st, and he's like, Protocol, love your show. I have a complete agreement in what you're saying. How do we repair? How do we truly make reparations happen? What does that look like? You tell him what? What should reparations look like from a black conservative American small business owner active in his community and politics? To you, what should reparations look like so we can understand?
All right, sir. So the first thing I need you to do is I need you to tweet to everybody that you love the show and shit is awesome, so I can get all those crazy red whites that follow you with the money to come on in there and give me some money in the cash app. All right, I'm gonna need
Pew, pew,
that
pew,
first.
pew.
Now, once we've established that, sir, I need you to do just a few things. You are on the right path. You are on the right path. We're gonna pick up where you left off, and we're gonna run the ball a little bit harder. And here's what we're gonna do. We want to make sure everybody understands the new black deal and what you put down in 2016. All right, those were awesome 10 points that we need pushed. We need to push it. All right. Secondly, we also push that along with the platinum plan. Great deal. I think it could be perfectly executed if we did a better marketing plan to get people involved. All right. Pick those documents back up. Let's run forward with that. The HBCU initiative that you had and the plans that was going with that. Pick that back up. Let's run with it. Let's handle business. Opportunity zones. Let's pick that back up. Let's run with it. Let's push it. You're on the right path. You know exactly what we need and how we need. But now we need to put more teeth in it. And just like when field order number 15 was given, right, and 40 acres and a mule and the Freedmen Bureau was put down, just like the Union soldiers were attached to that, I need the military's backing, right? And it doesn't have to be the United States Army, right? We have military age men, all right? Let us train and get our military handled, okay? Get them together and protect ourselves when something goes awry. And when we pick up the phone and say, sir, Mr. Trump, sir, it's going down. These crazy motherfuckers coming at us. I want you to send in the nearest team to assist us in this because we're allies in this movement. All right. Let us protect ourselves and let us go. Opportunity zones, New Black Deal, Platinum Plan, School Choice. It was a part of the Platinum Plan. Let's get it fully through. Let's get it all through. Let's build our businesses. It was all there. We don't have to change nothing else up outside of we need to market hard and let us be the mouthpiece. Come holler at a protocol and let protocol go in the hood. Go get Auntie Angie and let Auntie Angie be in the hood. Go get Monj Teray, let Monj Teray be in the hood. Go get Hotep Jesus, let Hotep Jesus be in the hood. Go get Kim Klacik, go get Ken and Hotep, let them be in the hood. Go get P. Ray in Chicago, Mr. Mark in Chicago, let them be in the hood. Let us handle our business. Let us be the mouthpieces, and everything is everything. Don't get these fucking fake folk who ain't got no connection and no feet in the soil. Don't go get them. Get the real ones, the ones that's dealing with people. Let us handle our business. On top of that, my little sprinkle on top, give me 15 years of no income tax, no business tax. I'll pay my tariffs, whatever tariffs that I have to pay as far as doing trade, because I do want to do trade. I'll pay necessary tariffs, you know what I'm saying? But the income and certain business taxes, cut them for 15 years and we can handle business. That's just what I ask for.
All right. And with that, at 1:55:23, want to say thank you guys so much for sitting in on this reparations debate with us. I think that was excellent. Woo! For anybody in the chat who doesn't understand specifically, and especially my man LS, who love you, dog. I'm not saying I agreed. What I was trying to do was bring forth what I consider to be valid points on the other side. So when a white man does ask these things in a legitimate type of situation, it's not screw you racist and then more division, or he's not willing to listen and he doesn't understand, but I am willing to listen. I wanted to bring these points forward. All of them were smashed sufficiently. So yeah, even the ones I stuck on for a second. But yeah, that was awesome. And what's funny is, whew, let me just take a breath. Oh goodness, wow. All right, good stuff. My man said,
Hey,
make
man.
it 100 years. Woo.
Hey man, listen. I wouldn't disagree, you know what I'm saying? But I want to get the shit passed. All right.
I agree. No, and here's the thing, man. It was 100 years, no problem. I was, man, because what was hard was not stopping to agree with you and reaffirm your points and go another thing. Just like there was a point you were like, even what happened in the 60s, I'm like, and even today on Netflix and now how they're literally coming after the black masculinity, the idea of black masculinity they're coming after. And then they'll give you a little bit of that only to come after the white idea of masculinity. They're like, the only way you get to be masculine is if it intimidates white people so you guys can stay divided, which is so annoying. And then, oh my God, there were so many points I wanted to back you up on, and I knew some of my points were super weak. But you have to, you know what I mean? You have to, I don't, you don't have to, but I'm glad we did that. Oh my gosh, that was a little tough. You know what I mean? I hate digging into, I mean, who likes to go, yay, we're going to talk about slavery. Yeah.
No, you're
so,
right. Listen, LS, you're right, bro. And I agree. I agree. I mean, if we really want to talk about it, you know what I'm saying? It's something like 200 years. But we know
yeah.
good and well we could not sustain at 200 years of not paying taxes. It just couldn't happen.
Well,
So,
and
you know.
also I think true story on that, something that we didn't get into because it wasn't part of the debate, but it, to me, if you truly allow black people to build their own, like Black Wall Street, if you say, hey, here's your stuff and we're going to stay out of it, and we've had this conversation before, but it's just been proven time and again it benefits everyone. And the thing is, I pay taxes, but if you have a great resort, you're not paying taxes like so many 501c3s, which is silly to even get caught up because, my Lord, there are so many, you know what I mean? Hotep Nation is a 501c3, right? So, but if you have a great resort, right? Like say, you know, on Savannah Shores, there's a beautiful, you have a great little bed and breakfast. And me and my wife come to that bed and breakfast and we drink your coffee and we eat your pastries and we stay in your hotel. And then, you know, your family, your cousin or someone you know owns the nice little tour bus. You know what I mean? Or the tour bicycle. Because it's my dream to take my wife on that little river tour on the bicycle that you sit on the back of.
Nice.
Or that little cart because Savannah's so beautiful. But anyway, and she hasn't really kicked it at the ocean, and ocean is life, right? So anyway, so you do that, right? And maybe he's black too, and he's not paying taxes on that. And then we stop and we eat at a
Mhm.
little food truck for lunch, right? Okay, cool. And maybe those are all black owned and you're not paying, but I'm paying taxes. Every dollar that I spend is a tax dollar that a payroll taxes come out of. That there
Mhm.
will be sales tax when we purchase it. You know what I mean? You're not paying income or business on it, but there is still a local Savannah sales tax that's put on that dollar that I'm sure you want to go
Mhm.
back into Savannah. You're like, because I want more
Mhm.
tourists to come and I don't want to have to foot the bill when the road, starts falling down in front of me. I'd rather those taxes help. So, doing those types of things, in my opinion, for reparation purposes, no matter what title you put on it, doing that for black communities is good for all of America. So I completely agree, not to go long way around. But I couldn't agree in the argument. You know what I'm saying? I had to, you know what I'm saying? So,
It was good. You did well, and I heard it was a lot of points that I have heard before. So yeah.
well, I figured I wanted to, you know what I mean? When was the last time, that you saw two people with respect sit down? Okay, let's start out, man. Let's start out with it looks like Tamara, a jack of all trades. We're gonna start with well, of course, Jonah. Jonah says, "LOL, that call was amazing because it made me go and listen to that Joseph P. Farrell book that I've been sitting on." Joseph P. Farrell, I have to look him up. Vote for Nancy Pelosi. She got effed by JFK as a teenager. I feel
Oh
like she,
God.
and then she effed us all. Cornel West was so annoying, mofo. You have offices at Harvard, same Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, Cornell, I'm back and forth on. I think he has a good heart, but he's swayed easily. That's what I think about Cornell.
Mhm.
I think his
Mhm.
desire to really allow everybody to have a voice and to represent everybody, he gets swayed easily. So that's how I feel. Jack of all trades says, yep, Jack of all trades. Thank you, Protocol, for the true history and language education of true history. It's the key. 40 Acres and a Mule was only for the people involved with the Ebenezer Massacre, which is a whole other thing, is that 40 Acres and a Mule. And if you put today what that value is, and people still, a lot of people in our industrialized age don't understand what 40 acres and a mule, it would be like basically I'm giving you, and this is a crappy way to say it, but like I'm giving you a McDonald's franchise. You know what I mean? You own the
Mhm.
plot of land, you own the building, and because we are in a farm society and pretty much everything revolves around farming in this society, we're giving you a chance to stake a claim. So you know what I mean when I say that. You know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
we're giving
Mhm.
you a
Yeah, yeah,
major
yeah.
restaurant franchise and you own the land that major restaurant. Now, if you want to tear it down and build a shopping mall, a self-storage, an apartment building, it's up to you, but you own this and you own
Mhm.
the mule or the tool in which to make it profitable for
Make it
yourself.
profitable for you.
So
Yep.
that's what a
That's
lot of
it.
folk don't understand there. So yeah.
Mhm.
Tamara says it was 246 years of free labor. I mentioned, should we give that? She said, no, it is owed, which is why we had the debate.
Mhm.
Uh, LS just says, yo, back then he said some more, but shout out to LS. We love you, LS. Pew, 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 pew. I almost invited him in as a moderator, but I was like, man, we're going to respect each other enough, and let's just make sure. And we did.
Mhm.
So yeah. Uh, Troublemaker Jonah says that shit was super magical. The apartheid shit, I mean. I am not smart enough to know the purpose of the magic. Nelson Mandela was 666, and the AWB were 777. That's deep. I hope Jonah's still in here and he can break that down a little bit more for us. Jack of all trades came in at 730 and he's 737, excuse me, and he said reparations is a debt owed to black Americans, because we were talking about should it be for all Americans. Then he said descendants of U.S. chattel slavery specifically, which is all the black Americans happen to fall into the category of. So his specific thing is, regardless of skin color, it is those descendants of that U.S. chattel slavery system that deserve the reparations. And then he goes on to say, the NAACP is not for black Americans and don't help the community anymore than they help melanin immigrants and Asians and Indians and Spanish, which would be none of them. I do believe that the NAACP should at least be reviewed. They should get a hard review, and all of it should be made public, and then we should decide whether our taxpayers continue to fund them. Jonah says
Mhm.
the Civil War was about enslaving all as financial as opposed to just chattel. I do agree with that. I think Hotep Jesus broke that down a little bit on his show as well. Jack of all trades. Majority of white families that own land passed it down and got it due to homestead acts. That is true.
Mhm.
My family owes no land. I pay rent in a place that they won't even send an exterminator out to get the mouse, but that's another story. Don't
Mouse
put
said it's cold outside. Damn it.
Oh yeah, I can't hate on the mouse. I hate on the people that won't get rid of. Anyway, yes, a lot of wealth is generational and passed down, and that was taken from most black. You know, if you are here due to chattel slavery or a descendant of that, there's no way you would have that opportunity. Completely agree there. Trouble. I could make better arguments than me about anti-reparations, and I'm sure you could, Jonah. I'm sure you could. Amy says, "I'm so glad to learn this. Just the fact that I think we're putting this information out there for all to make a decision." Jack of all trades hits back. When black Americans get the debt that is owed, then that same money would go back into our economy. This is our land. That money would not go to other countries. I completely 100% agree. I mean, I have a vision. I mean, it's crazy. But I mean, imagine if black folks owned the companies that made the tires, right? Imagine if there was Savannah Tire and tires just off the top of my head, because what I'm trying to think of is things we all need and use every day that no one really puts value on, right? Like until we need it, like soap, clothes, tires. And tires is a very high profit. If you look up tires, it's a very high profit industry. But imagine if that rubber was sourced from rubber trees in South America, so it didn't, you know what I mean, cross from Asia or whatever. It was sourced from rubber trees, right? So you had folks there, and then that went to a factory directly in Savannah. Savannah made the tires. Then it went to a retail store in Savannah owned by Savannah folks. And then people were driving around on Savannah, Protocol Savannah Tires 1, Protocol Savannah Tires Off-Road, Protocol Racing Savannah Tires featuring Fresh Mike, whatever we would do. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, but that's it. You know, that's ultimately what you want. All right.
Yeah,
and we have
exactly.
to get back to that. Get warmer out of the way. Let's go.
And then Amy says, yes, our problems are not black versus right. Our problems are powerful versus powerless. I do agree to that, but there are specific things we can do to alleviate that on a nuanced level. Jack of all trades, the average white person is not paying for reparations in the U.S. The government have a fund to put aside if it was ever to be sued. So he's talking about that government sued fund, and that's where we should get it from. I agree. I also think that some of the hundreds of billions used to try to disarm black people in the cities and things like that, that money should be put back into actually benefiting them. Troublemaker Jonah says, if slavery was a states' right issue, so to speak, would the grievance need to be readdressed by the state and not the Fed, especially if USA is a union of states? Well, that's very interesting. Should it be more of I live in a state that never had slaves. It was never a slave state. And then come to find out later that some of the Native American tribes did have slaves, but it was never a legal thing, and you could not own slaves in Oklahoma. However, has Oklahoma benefited from slave labor? It's easy to say that California probably, benefited the most from slave labor outside of the state of California. But, that's another very interesting argument to make. Jack of all trades. Anti-Asian hate crime bill, they tried to target black men and women. So the crime bill that I brought up, that the government says is specifically to help with the hundreds of billion, the 500 billion moves a needle. It just doesn't matter. I don't care if you're America. 500 billion is a needle mover for the hate crime. They were targeting black men and women for the hate crime because I was making the point that hate crimes were meant to discriminate, and he's saying no. They're trying to, because of course, they're always trying to figure out a way to put the black men into the thing. You know what I mean?
He was speaking on right above that, the Asian hate crime bill.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
The Asian hate crime bill. When they put that in, they were going after the black people. They weren't so much going after whites, but it was the blacks that was getting hit the most with the hate crimes, with the Asian hate crime bill.
Yeah, for that hate crime bill. Yeah, and I was saying, yeah, of course, because
right.
What most of the time when they say something is to help black people, they mean the exact opposite.
Exact opposite.
It's like somehow if the government came out tomorrow and it was a bill and it was guaranteed and secured electricity for all black Americans, half of the black people in the world would not have electricity the next day somehow, some way. It's what? Yep. How does that happen? You know what I mean?
Clean water drinking out for all.
Yeah. It's yeah. Well, the old system where you had electricity affordably. No, now you just don't get it. Sorry, troublemaker Jonah, and let's not forget Ho Biden's granddaddy was a slave ship captain in India. I got sources, despite the political theater played with Modi. Okay, so his great grandfather was a slave owner, a slave ship owner. And then we have Jack of all trades coming back. Slavery was the very last thing the Civil War was about. It was mainly about the South not wanting to participate with the Union of the North in their economic system. Correct. Jonah also kind of brought that full circle. It was about not just chattel slaves, but slaves of all men to the banking system. Lincoln ending slavery was a way to cripple the South's economy, not because he had a good heart. Absolutely. But what's cool is these folks are completely different, but saying the same thing, which poor whites got to join the Freedmen's Bureau. Yes, absolutely. So poor whites were considered that. And then, as we know, I didn't want to get into it because I think one of the worst arguments you can make is, well, there were white slaves too. Just a different thing. You know what I mean? It's like, well, there was Pepsi in addition to Coke. Yeah, we're dealing with Coca-Cola right now. You know what I mean? Like, plus it was just a different thing. It just was. In the same way that slavery in Africa would be different. You know what I mean? There's just a different idea there. At Protocol, Joe Biden's receipts are in the DMs. Looks like Jonah has some DMs for you there, my man. Jack of all trades, come back again. Are Jews struggling and they receive reparations, and not all Native Americans, tribes, and reservations are not struggling? No, they were. The thing that changed the Native Americans were the casinos. Literally. And this is one of those kind of arguments things on just changing the legislation and not handing out money. Basically, the reservations were some of the poorest, roughest places, and some of them still are. Go to some reservations. They are brutal, hard-living places, a lot of them without running water and electricity. What changed the Native Americans were the casinos, because casinos were just illegal except for in Vegas. A Native American said, you can't do that. This is our land. If we want casinos, we can have them. I know casinos that employ a large amount of white people, 10 miles from me, right? One of the largest casinos is in the world. The second largest casino behind Vegas is about 45 minutes south of me, straight up. And there are black people working there, white people working there, Native American people, lots of Latino people working there. So yes, when you allow a group freedom to build their own economic system, it benefits everybody. I completely agree there. And when you help them out a little bit by making up for what you've taken, you allowed them to build their own generational wealth, which I believe is in human nature. So let's see here. Jack of all trades says no programs. When we said we should revert that money to better programs, I think he is saying there that better just to kind of write that check. Stroke a check, baby.
Stroke a check. And I feel that, but I feel like, giving a blank check to someone who don't know how to handle money is ridiculous.
I agree. But yeah. Yeah, and I just think past that. Jonah says his reparations plan is better. We can't wait to hear all about it. LS says the homie tribe, because LS is the homie and it is the tribe. Jonah says it comes from my mind, so don't ask if you don't want to hear, and I'm assuming that means his reparations plan. Apartheid was magic. Do we really know what is happening there? Look at Mandela's Foundation 46,664 with the left hand. Sounds like some Illuminati stuff. Black Wall Street, we were talking about oppression and how black people can do good if given independence and true freedom. If you aren't for lineage-based reparations, be sure to be against subsidiaries, reparations to Israel, free handouts to migrants. I am not. I was just making the argument, LS. I don't want you to think that's where I stand. I was making that argument so we could have what you're saying legitimately here, so it is recorded. That was the importance of making these arguments. The same hoodwink. The only way to help black people is to help all people first. Bullspit. Could I get you to speak on that real fast, Pro? And if you're in the chat, LS, I want you to expand upon that, because I know there's a lot that could be left open there.
So there are like a lot of that's the argument that a lot of people like to run to on that side as well. We help everybody, then you'll help black people. It's like, yeah, but you're getting away from truly addressing the fuck up, which is where I stated, you know what I'm saying? Like, listen, we can do for others, but you have to address the fact that you screwed up here. We're not getting past the fact of you addressing that you screwed up here. Address that you screwed up here, put it on the record, and then make amends for it, and let's move forward. All right. That's what it was. There was a few other comments. I'm seeing some new ones pop up down
I
here
know,
that
man.
I'm.
I'm trying to keep up.
I
They're
know
coming
you are.
quick.
I know you are. They're
I'm
coming
sorry. I'm
fast.
sorry.
You're coming
Let's see
fast. Go,
here.
go back up. Go, we can
Oh,
keep going.
let's just do this real fast because we have to. Salute
Yep.
Canada in the building. Pew, 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 pew. Okay, so and we're getting through them. I'm gonna hit a couple people. LS, Jonah, you guys are still with us. Feel free to drop if there's something important that I didn't get to. Definitely same hoodwink. G Master 11, a guy we haven't heard much from. Seems to me
Mhm.
if something was stolen, it should be given back. Time, talent, etc. Very
That
simple,
part.
very straight and to the point. We stop acting like it was anything other than wasps. We're gonna get back into that. LS says and cash payments. We were talking about the magic wand and what we should do there. He
Hmm.
and then 100 years tax free. You got yourself a deal. Be real. How long were we enslaved? 100 years is the minimum. Cash payments. Then of course salute from Canon. My man LS NAA should be NAACP. Excuse me. Should be disbanded. Troublemaker Jonah, that is a humanized mouse. It has human rights. Fuck that mouse. No, I don't play that. I just got 35s on my truck. You damn right you did, brother. I hope that's the truck you're driving to the Grifties. I'd be excited to see you there with that. SCOTUS legalized slavery. That makes it a federal issue. That means that they are on the hook or responsible. Jonah, and what the fuck is a love crime? Hate crime does not exist. Oh, I've committed a love crime or two. You don't want to know. I was
Man,
younger and
listen,
she didn't know she needed. I'm sorry, that was wrong.
bruh.
Stop paying Israel and pay the debt owed. Can't argue that. Also,
Yeah.
something that we didn't get into is America's paid reparations to Canada in the past 10 years. I'm not even sure for what, but I'm talking to the tune of billions. We paid reparations to something we did bad to Canada. So yeah, we could at least think about helping our own people.
Mhm.
Protocol in the thing. Fuego! Jonah is correct. Slavery was a state issue.
So
Amy,
let me,
Native people are the poorest people in the nation. No question. Sorry, go ahead.
go back to Fuego. Slavery being a state issue, right? So
Yes.
it was a state issue, but it also was a national issue, right? It was a union issue from the very beginning. I mentioned it at my in my opening argument, where when the Declaration of Independence was written twice, twice out of three drafts, the very first two drafts, Thomas Jefferson spoke about how slavery was wrong and these people should not be thrown into this economy, this economic bullshit they had from the king, and he didn't want it, and this country should not have. It was a nation issue from the very beginning. But the problem was they needed to get enough people. So because slavery was an economic driver, right? It's a part of the what they were making money off of. They in the South, who was mainly using slaves, did not want to anger them and have them be allies of the crown. So when they separated, those people in the South would attack them, just like they did in the Civil War, because it did eventually happen, right? Because we had to compromise and they let them get away with it for so much time. And then they came back to the table and was like, all right, yo, listen, we done came to the deadline of this compromise. You know, we need to talk about how we're going to do this. And then it was like, no, fuck you, it's state rights. If we want to keep these people as slaves, we want to keep them as slaves. Oh, okay. State rights, huh? All right, cool. We'll be back. Then we went to war. And it was a war about the economy, right? But at the end, pull on the heartstrings, it was tagged on to slavery. So it's always been about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And no one who's being held against their will to make money is enjoying their life in pursuing happiness. No liberty.
And just further speak to that, you brought I want to say either last or episode before last, you brought this up. Very interesting, and I didn't even really know this, and that is that the way it was set up as a state's issue was either a black man could be counted as a full man, but then he was a fully owned man, and so the slave owner got to decide, his political opinion. He would have had to have been given a vote that the slave owner would have then been able to cast.
Mm-hmm.
Or he was 3/5 of a man, so he didn't actually count as a full vote, and he wasn't fully owned, but then he wasn't equally a man. Once again, it was the perfect example, in my opinion, of heads I win, tails you lose, that any group of people ever in the history of ever have been in. It's like, I'm going to count you as a full human wholly owned by another man. Or I'm not going to count you as a whole man, but at least this way you don't get a representative vote that somebody else would cast for you. Well,
Right.
none of that is an option I want. None of these
None
are
of it.
options I'm
None of
interested in. So, Candace said I want my 40 acres and a pit bull. That's what I'm saying. Yes. We could call Michael Vick and get some good fights going. You know what I mean? Pew, 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 pew. I'm sorry. Stop. I'm bad. My man says the Union was never a harmonious one. New England spoke of breaking things up starting in the early 19th century. Correct. And that was another thing that I know, is that this whole, on the white side of arguments, it's England might have been better because they released or they outlawed slavery 10 years before America did. And it was like, well, that's because you couldn't conscript somebody's property. I couldn't force you to put your horses in the conscription of war, and I couldn't force you to put your people in the conscription of war. But because they were losing many wars on many fronts, the crown was, they were like, we better free these slaves and then, put a sword in their hand and put them on a boat, because we need cannon fodder, basically. It wasn't a kind thing. They didn't do it because they thought they were good people or that slaves should be free. They needed more soldiers for their wars there. So, yeah. Troublemaker Jonius hitting us again with that Mandela's prison number was 46664 or 666 with a left-hand logo, hence the left-handed path. All right. And then he said NAACP equals Felix Frankfurter. Excuse me. LS paid Japanese reparations too. LS has a very good point. We paid Canada for whatever reason. We've paid Japan. We paid a lot of folks reparations for a lot of reasons. And then my man Troublemaker Jonia says, we're about to be caught up. We got one more from Fuego after this. P.S. Can we talk about the Dred Scott decision, where they ran the case for 15 years and had to pull the case and switch the owners for the case to get to SCOTUS? I don't, all I know is that Dred Scott was a pirate and evil. I've heard both things. And that's the thing about, okay, so man, a little side note. As a kid, I loved being a pirate, and we're going to hit Fuego's up there. Check out the Walter Block's The Libertarian Case for Slavery Reparations. It's an article online. Sounds very interesting, and we will. Yeah, I love pirates because the original thing is pirates were the original democracy, right? And that it was a bunch of freed slaves. They basically would capture a ship with slaves on it. Then they would say, hey, you're not slaves anymore if you want to be pirates. And even the head captain of any ship could be voted out by his crew. So I heard a lot of that, but then I heard they also dealt in slave trade, and they weren't really good. And then you listen to songs like Redemption Song by Bob Marley, and it's, oh, pirates, yes, they rob I, sold I to the merchant ships. So you wonder, about, that, because it seemed like pirates were just, white misfits and outlaws and freed slaves, who were warriors who all got together to, tax the rich and basically stop their stuff. And then I think there's probably a darker thing there. So I would like to study more about that Dred Scott, as you say, Jonah, on that. Okay, we hitting it. LS, Fresh Mike, the North benefited from slavery the most because the North traded with the South first before anywhere else did. The Civil War was not about slavery. Agreed. The Underground Railroad bypassed the Union and came to Canada well after 1867. Man, we're getting so much information, man. This is like a rapid-fire history lesson. Thank you, guys, by the way. Thank you, Jonah. Thank you, LS. Thank you, Fuego. Thank you, Cannon. Thank you, Amy. Declaration was not a founding document of the U.S. It was a notice of separation from Britain. The term nation was usually used by Northern Federalists. All right. And yes, I am with you on Jefferson's writing as well as others. Absolutely, Fuego. Yes. And then Jonah Dred Scott was the SCOTUS case where it determined if a black man was a person, but the case was never authentic, he says. And this is where I let the smart guy, not me, of the two people on your screen right now, take over and break down some of this knowledge here. Fuego. It was one of the reasons it was danced around at Constitution Convention. They kicked it to the states. Rock on. That makes sense.
Do the rock, man. We got more comments. Okay. No, okay. I see the news. I'm up. All right. I'm sitting here. Listen, I'm sitting here going through Google myself right now, looking up some of the things that's being thrown our way. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? Arenas on some new things. So one of the reasons it was danced around at the Constitution Convention, they kicked it to the states. Like they did, like there are certain state rights, you know what I'm saying, that are handled, things that are quote unquote state rightish. But there was an overall understanding with, you know what I'm saying, the Constitution and what's the name by it? There's a whole one. Joe, that's so funny, man. Um there was, it was put there that there was a basis of what it is to be a man and what it is to pursue, right? We all know, you know, like I know, just as we both live and breathe and speak, I'm a man, a human, just as you are. I'm not a monkey, I'm not an elephant, I'm not a shark. I was raised by some wolves, so I'm gonna go get it. But I am a man as I live and breathe. I shouldn't be relegated to being someone's property because they say I'm their property. And that was a lot of things that happened here. You know what I'm saying? When it came to slavery, it's like, no, don't get it misunderstood. There were people who looked like me who was already here, particularly on the East Coast. Um, there were people who were snatched up. There were people who came here on their free cognizance, and then they got snatched up and thrown into slavery. And they couldn't argue and say that, whoa, I'm not a slave. No, they get their ass kicked. They get killed.
Yeah.
Because it was all about catching them and saying, hey, I got this slave. And he ran away and you was looking for him, and all you had was really sketches of people. And they'd hold up a sketch and be like, all right, cool. And it was what it was. Yeah.
She probably said protocol for president in her phone, but it didn't pick up till
No,
two
it's
call.
okay. No, I know. Yeah, you know. She calls him Mr. Two Call.
I
She
know.
calls him Mr. Two
Yeah,
Call.
she does.
So,
Mr. Two call.
yeah.
Sincerely, you taught me a lot tonight and did it in a very thoughtful and respectful way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, and that's,
Absolutely.
if I may speak on that real fast, that's the importance of it's just funny. But LS, I know you, it seems like you were saying something here and we lost you, so come back to us,
That's
LS.
true.
Please do.
Then we as blacks. Yeah, come on.
It's true than we as black, and then I think we lost him for a second. But yeah, come back to us, LS, if you're still in. That was so important, man. I knew we could have this conversation. And not only would you come up with the valid and important points that conservatives and people just need to hear to understand the significance and importance of the nuance and how, as usual, since the beginning of a formed government, they're using in the name of helping black folks, they're stealing money from all of us, and they're actually probably, it can be pretty easily said, hurting black folks in the name of helping black folks in the name of stealing hundreds of billions from taxpayers, quite honestly. You know, just like 500 billion basically to stop crime in the inner cities that is going up, and basically all they use that for is to launch a campaign against guns, against gun ownership. That's just silly. So, but that was the thing, is that, you know, people need to hear you and people need to know how you can speak on these topics calmly, rationally, saliently, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, absolutely. So Protocol is talking about, and Fuego is talking about, The nation, the word nation was danced around at the Constitution Convention, and that's why they kicked it to the states to be as a nation there. Um, and then the Biden articles, I want to see what article he's talking about here.
I'm on my way.
The Dred Scott. But it was never an authentic case. And then, do you know anything about the Mandela stuff? I've heard, I haven't really dug into it because you know how it is with a lot of stuff, who it's presented by. You know what I mean? And how it's presented. I do know that they say Mandela was part of the deep state or being used by the deep state. So, yeah.
I could believe it. I can believe it. It happens to the best of them. All right, let's see. I got that there. I'm coming in hot.
Coming in hot. Woo, woo, woo.
Coming in.
Look up
Let's
4664.
see.
All right.
All right, let's get it. Mm.
Boom. Add to stage. There we go.
All right, mystery solved, guys. Biden gets proof of family ties to India. From the Washington AP, President Joe Biden sat down with Indian Prime Minister Hello Modi. I'm going to call him Howdy Modi. All right, on Friday for important talks about the Indo-Pacific region. But first, the leaders caught up on the president's own family ties to the subcontinent.
Damn.
Biden recalled that soon after he was first elected to the U.S. Senate, he got a letter from a man in Mumbai who said his last name was also Biden. The president said he never had the chance to follow up. Now, I'm just going to say on his face, this is the same motherfucker who talked about corn pop guys. All right.
Yeah.
Just gonna put that out there. Later, as vice president, Biden was in India and recalled being asked by local press if he had any Indian relatives. He retold the story of the letter. The next day, Biden said he was informed by Indian press that there was at least a few Bidens in India. And although we never admitted it, I found out that there was a Captain George Biden who was captain in the East India Tea Company in India. I had to say it like Biden. Biden said he appeared to be referring, it's no joke, man, no, for real, appeared to be referring to the British East India Company, a commercial power for centuries that controlled trade and colonized India and parts of Southeast Asia. Biden, who frequently talks of his Irish ancestry, quipped that the British connection was hard for any Irishman to admit. Biden, who has told versions of the anecdote to Indian audiences before, said Captain Biden apparently stayed and married an Indian woman, but he'd never been able to nail down the further details. He joked that Modi was in Washington to help me figure it out. In fact, Modi told the president he had hunted for documents that would shed light on the president's Mumbai connection and brought his findings with them. Are we related? Biden asked. The prime minister confirmed that the 46th U.S. president did indeed have family connections to the subcontinent. Maybe we'll be able to take this matter forward, and maybe those documents could be of use to you. That's what Modi said about it.
That's not ominous. Listen,
Right.
they're going to put y'all back in chains.
I'm gonna put y'all back in chains. I'm gonna get my slave boat and trade.
What an ominous last. These may be of use to you. Oh, what a scary, scary. Oh, yeah, man. That's wow.
Always a rabbit hole with Jonah, man. We're always going on a swim.
And speaking of that, we're going to keep the Jonah part. We're going to keep the Jonah train rolling. Now, the second article from the Hindustan Times. Before we get to that, Jonah, you asked me to look up 4664, and I'm doing that. Let me hit that present button and that share screezy. And then there we go with that. Okay, so what is the meaning of 4664 as it relates to Mandela? I like Quora because it gives you all kinds of stuff. In my mind's, what is that ad blocker? He was prison number 466 and was arrested in 64. Others saying it has something to do with Satanism. I will excuse myself because I'm not a conspiracy theorist. The second time Mandela was imprisoned, okay, that was the number he wore. So we know that, right? But then we'll go back because 4664, when you take it out of Kiora, and you look at it just in the Mandela 4664 David Clark cause, boom, there it is. What a sexy, pretty picture. All right.
Mm.
And there's Mandela and Will Smith, the deepest deep state plant ever. The 4664 cause brand created by David Clark for president, Nelson Mandela served as a global platform to help address the HIV/AIDS crisis and to destigmatize people who suffered from the disease. Through this 4664 cause brand that was created in 2002, that's a for-profit, which President Mandela spearheaded until his death in 2013, the president continued to reinforce Clark's rebranding of HIV/AIDS by saying, AIDS is no longer just a disease, it is a human rights crisis, a man-made human rights crisis. In addition to raising unprecedented awareness through the crisis, 4664 raised tens of millions of dollars through activation that included staging 6 all-star concerts. Because we know if one thing rock stars do, it's not collect money and get rich, it's give all their money to the poor. A clothing line, books, concert CDs, and of course original music. And let's just see. Yay, Will Smith. Yay, more Mandela. And see, I liked him before. I watched the movie and of course Richard Branson there.
Of course, Branson will be there.
Billionaires. Cell phones. Who's that white lady? Archbismuth. Hold on.
Desmond Tutu.
I want to know David. Who's David
Her
Clark?
rep.
Let's see here. I want to know who David Clark is. That guy's shady. Check the
Shady.
images. Yup. Let me go back through. He wants us to go through. What is he holding there? Hold on. Global human rights symbol. Well, I know the Global Human Rights Initiative is an enslaving thing. That's what it does. Just like the UN. Yeah, man, that's some shady folks there.
Scroll up. Go back up.
You want to watch that?
One more time. No. Go back up to the picture with the chick and Desmond Tutu. Back it up.
Yeah.
Go back. Yeah. Right there. All right. Scroll up some. All right. Greets creator David Clark.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, scroll right there. Oh, you can see. Yeah. It doesn't say who she is. Sorry.
Go back. All right. Prior to the press event with Nelson Mandela, Desmond Tutu, and David Clark. Huh.
And they don't even say who that white lady is.
Mm-mm. She the devil, though.
She's
the devil.
Hey, man, whenever you're in this picture and they don't name you, you clearly are evil. You know what I'm saying?
Evil.
Think about that.
We're going to keep her name secret, guys.
Let me check this chat. Rock stars also have groupies. Yes, they do. I want a few of those. Corn Pop was a bad dude, Fuego. Look out. He carried a knife or something. So let me get that off the screen. All right. AWB, the white Afrikaners were 777 as they used the Triskele, which is 3 sevens and a magic symbol. That's getting deep. That is getting deep. That is okay. So, and that's man, that is something I would love to do, and I need to do more research. But I mean, we just don't get a lot of news out of the continent of Africa. I feel as an American, I get way more information about Europe. I get way more information about Asia. The only thing about Africa is you get a documentary about how great certain Africans are after revolutions, which means that it's propped up. And, very interesting. Just the fact that now Dana White was like, we might have to go to South Africa now. I didn't realize we had a base there. And it's so interesting how it is Latino now, but the second most influential and largest population when it comes to culture, working class, business owners in America are so deeply connected to a continent that we hear so little about. And we're so little connected to other than like what you teach me and what we have to go learn. It's just not out there for people. Like I can find out way more about China by doing Google searches. right? As far as culture and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's a continent too. Protocol. You have to do the article above the AP for the contradictions. All right.
The Hin, the
Contradictions.
Hindustan Hindustan Times.
Did you pull it up?
Yeah, I got it. We'll throw it on screen in three, two, one. Where is it? There. Let's go.
Joe Biden's connections run deep.
Pause. Major pause. All right, guys.
Yep.
A few years later, in another speech, Biden expanded on this, saying that the Biden from Mumbai claimed descent from a British captain in the East India Tea Company, and he married, I believe, an Indian woman. President-elect Joe Biden uses every opportunity before an India-related audience to tell them of his great grandfather, Captain George Biden, who was a captain in the East India Company, retired in India, and had an Indian wife. He first spoke of this ancestor when, as U.S. Vice President, he addressed the Bombay Stock Exchange in July 2013. He told the audience that when he was first elected as senator in 1972, I received a letter from a gentleman named Biden from Mumbai asserting that we were related. Wait, in 1972? That last article made it seem like he just got that motherfucker. I know that's what I read.
Yep.
Holy fuck. The letter suggested that our mutual great something or other worked for the East India Trading Company back in 1700s and came to Mumbai. Biden joked to the audience, if that's true, I might run here in India for office. I might be qualified. Wow. Wow.
Clueless. He's just so clueless, man.
I don't know. I don't know. Because this was supposedly back in 2013. So he was less than clueless. He was actually a functional old fart. Um, hmm.
I meant
Okay.
clueless in that statement. Like, who would make that statement? You know what I mean? That's, yeah.
The person who is Barack Obama's vice president who knows that there's some shady. Let me stop, man. A few years later, in another speech, Biden expanded on this, saying the Biden from Mumbai claimed uh claimed descent from a British captain in the East India Tea Company and he married, I believe, an Indian woman, and he settled in India. He said a journalist had given him a list of 5 Bidens who lived in Mumbai. I haven't actually followed up, and I'm embarrassed about. And I haven't actually followed up and embarrassed the Bidens in Mumbai. The King's College historian and ex-diplomat Tim Willsey. Oh wow, motherfucker's name is Willsey.
And it's hyphenated.
And it's hyphenated. Lord
Total
have mercy.
no incest going on there. There is no rich white people banging other rich white people that they're second cousins with
Of
there.
course
No way.
not. There's no Lannister stuff going on here.
Never happened.
In an essay for Gateway House in August, wrote that there are no records of a George Biden, but he did find records of 2 Biden brothers who captained ships for the John Company. They started out as third and fourth mates on ships running from Britain to India. William Henry Biden went on to captain a few ships before dying of a stroke in Rangoon in 1843. His brother Christopher Biden captained his first ship in 1821 and made 5 return journeys between Britain and Calcutta. Each voyage was arduous but profitable and took a year to complete. In 1830, at the age of 41, he retired and settled near London and wrote a book about naval discipline.
Scroll up for me that last part. That last part one more time. The second to yeah, ships running. Okay, the King's College historian and ex-diplomat. Blah blah blah. Records. They started out as third. Biden captained a few ships before dying. Now the next one, real fast. Arduous journeys.
Oh,
21.
oh, right here. All right.
Brother, each voyage was arduous but profitable. What were they hauling? What were they What was profitable upon that journey?
In 1821 to 1830?
what were the Indian ships transporting from 1821 to 1830? You know, gee, because here's the thing I know for a fact. Even back then, you load everybody up on a giant ship that costs money. You
Mm-hmm.
got to feed people. That ship takes repairs,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of time. Especially if you're going from Britain and Calcutta. That's a long, arduous, costly, dangerous journey. There must be some
Mm-hmm.
real valuable cargo that turns that profitable.
Mm-hmm. I think I
Hmm.
know what. Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on. I think that I might have an answer for you. I just might have an answer. Mm-hmm. Let's find out. No. Oh, for real? Oh, here we go. I'm finna say. Yep, you bastards. Yep. Here we go.
Ah, whoa! I've never seen this one. I like it. Yes.
Here you go. Donald Trump is the only living U.S. president whose ancestors didn't own slaves.
Wow, Modi. Wow. That's what I'm saying. That's why they hate. That's another reason they hate him.
Another reason they hate him.
You can't be a billionaire in America without that money being built off the backs of other people. You can't just be a smart, good business owner who employed people and did a good job. Even Barack Obama is descended from slaveholders, though his family, through his white mother's side of the family. Wow.
And who raised him?
His white
His
mama.
white
Yep.
mama.
Trump's ancestors came to America after slavery had already been abolished. Yep. A lot
mm,
of people did. Yep.
mm.
Britain through Africa to India. Yes, that's what they stopped off in Africa, picked up that
Yep.
profitable, questionable cargo that no one talks about, and took it to
Yep.
India. Yeah, where there's still a indentured servitude caste system today. So, funny how that works, man. Like this has been positive, but I feel dark. You know what I mean? Because the subject matter and yeah, you break it down and it's rough, man. Good show, but man, tough. You know what I'm saying? Tough.
You get rid of the
Uh,
gangrene by doing the tough things, man. You don't let it
absolutely.
spread through the body. You cut the foot off. You amputate the toe.
Well, man, and to me, I prefer battle tested. Right now, we live in an age where you want the pretty. You know what I mean? Can
Mm-hmm.
it get me the likes? Can it get me the love?
Mm-hmm.
Can it get me the cred? Well, then that's what I'll do. I don't care about my, soul or my lines I need to draw. And stuff like that. This is not that. Stuff like this is, you're like, I'm willing to make some people conservatives mad, even though I am one. And I'm like, I'm willing to really upset some folk in a way until they hear it, because people say this stuff. And if you're going to be a white person with the balls to tweet this or to put this on your social media, you should also be the kind of white person with the balls to stand in front of an intelligent black man who's not going to say, shut up, you're racist, which you might be and you might deserve to hear that. But somebody who's going to take the time with respect to go, I'm not afraid. I'm not worried about your arguments. I can explain why they don't really work.
Mm-hmm.
And then he does. And so that was awesome, man. That was amazing. So thank
I'm
you for
glad to be
that.
able to do it with you, man. I don't know if I would have been able to pull this off with anybody else. Ben Shapiro would have started yelling by now and screeching and Crowder, probably would have bought in his girl's ex-boyfriend, and
He would have Crowder would have brought in the Hodge twins to shout you down. Oh, come on
yeah,
now. These
yeah,
brothers think you're wrong. And that's the thing, as
yeah.
soon as you start making a point, and because ultimately, personally, I am on your side mentally, uh, I wanted to confirm your point, be like, oh, and another thing, dude. So what I did was I held back on that. And then, yeah, because when you're making your point and I find myself agreeing with you, it means that you're beating my point or you're speaking to my point in a way that resolves that question and issue with your viewpoint and standpoint. And so that needs to be heard. And most people with
Mhm.
a cross to bear won't allow you, and they're going to shout you down and interrupt you, just like what we saw in the Friday debate. You know what I mean? It was more important to shut the other person down when they had a
Mhm.
point. But then it speaks to a secure, strong man who is allowed to, like you allowed me to make all. There was a couple times I was expecting you to interrupt and go, wait on that, but you didn't. and you let me make some pretty harsh, what I would consider to be what a lot of conservatives feel to be strong points, and you allowed me to
Mm-hmm.
make those, and then you addressed every single one of them specifically. I would even say acutely, and so that was powerful. And you're absolutely right. We need more nuance. I think for all my whites, all my red whites out there, all my conservative and even my white liberal friends out there, I think one of the best things we can do right now is simple accountability to the government, right? Instead of trying to fight with black folks and say no, we've given you enough or no whatever, we go, wait a minute, government, you say that you're spending almost $1 trillion a year, yet it is not going to where it is supposed to be going.
I
I'm
don't
not
see
going
it.
to yeah, I'm not going to hold black people accountable for problems that are supposed to be taken care of that are not being taken care of or fixed. I'm going to hold my federal government because if you
Mm-hmm.
did what you said you would do, if this money was going where you said it was supposed to go, we wouldn't have the problems we have. And then we could be having a completely different discussion. The one I would like to have on how do we get black folks to own manufacturing plants? How do we get the supply chain to be more inclusive? How do we get it to where it's not shipped from Chinese billionaire oligarchs to white billionaire corporations, protected and not accountable? And then all of a sudden, we all have to fight over the scraps. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, to my white brothers and sisters, instead of fighting with black folks who say they want reparations, afraid that somehow it's going to take from you, or to have that thought in your mind to go, I don't want to be called racist, so I'm just going to think this. And when it comes up for vote, I'm just, going to basically vote against it. Stop and hold your government accountable and say, where is this money going? And if these programs have a history of not helping black folks, and that's what they're there for, I want them shut down and I want that money rerouted for black folks who can benefit, sort of like the Trump open door HBCU policy.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most sadly underfunded things is HBCUs, but that's another show. So, that's how
And
they
not
do
only are they
HBCUs is
underfunded,
wrong. Sorry,
not
go
only
ahead.
are they underfunded, they're fucked over by the people who run them. And I'm saying this as a person who attended two HBCUs, as a person who was contracted by two HBCUs, that worked for two HBCUs, and that still has friends that work within the administrations of said HBCUs. Okay. The way that they do with funding and things is freaking horrible. And that was one of the reasons why the HBCU initiative was done, so that we could get in there and hold them accountable. But people, another argument for another day.
All right, man, we're right up on that 3 hour mark, coming right up on it.
Yes.
Want to give, of course, your opportunity, man. Give me all your shouts out, what you got coming up this week. Any thoughts on any news we didn't get to or anything like that?
Let's see what's coming up this week. There's nothing this week really. Oh, yes. We have the Joe's Gotta Go tour. Joe's Gotta Go tour. Um, um, it's coming to Savannah on the 27th. We also have the Republican breakfast on that Saturday morning as well. Also, on that same Saturday morning is the Savannah Chatham County Public School System School Choice School Expo event at the Civic Center. So it's going to be a jam-packed Saturday. Next weekend, I will be up in Atlanta, Savannah Chatham Day. I'm going to go talk to next week. I think that's like Wednesday, Thursday. I'll be up in Atlanta. I'm going to be hollering at my legislators. We're going to be getting some things done legislatively for the city of Savannah and the county of Chatham. So I'll be up there doing that, doing the good work for my people here in Chatham County, in Cheatham County, as we call them. We got a good show planned for Friday, man. I'm getting myself together because uh, um, the Grifties is vastly approaching, and I got to get myself ready for going up to New Jersey. I don't have any snow gear, so I need to get me some snow gear just in case it is snowing. Um, yeah, that's about it, man. Good show this past Friday. I look to have a better show this coming Friday. Um, got a job starting, man. Gonna tear up some stuff, and yeah, gonna get it in, man. That's about it, man. Shouts out to everybody who came in and checked. Shouts out to LS. Shouts out to my girl Tamara. We got the reparations bill. Tamara came in the building. Reparations bill that we're fighting for here in Georgia, the state of Georgia. We know it was brought up that it's a state's issue. You're correct, and that's why we're going to holler at the state of Georgia. Georgia was the only. Check this out. only state of the Union, right? Out of the 13 colonies that became an original state, only state in the Union or only colony when founded that slavery was illegal. It took for them to get rid of James Oglethorpe to actually bring slavery into Georgia. So there's that. And it was because of the whole economy thing. So we have that bill that we're fighting for. We're getting in the state house, and hopefully to get through this session. So shouts out to Tamara. Um, who else came in the building? Jack of all trades, man. Shouts out to Chris, bro. Shouts out to Bros for coming through this thing and holding it down. Shouts out to Cannon for checking in the building, man. I appreciate you, bros. Shouts out to Fuego. One time for my dog, Troublemaker Jonah. And of course, you know I got to holler at the homie, Leroy Jenkins. We're checking in. And you know, my sister with no blisters, Miss Hall, checking in. I appreciate you. I'm glad I was able to educate you, sis. Thank you for always for coming in and supporting not only your man, but your newfound brother on the East Coast. We got to get you over here and play in this ocean.
Yeah, she keeps going. The more we look at Savannah, the more I want to move. I'm like, Norman is my house, though. But
Hey,
man, Savannah's a hard place to not love, man. I mean, the river, the culture, the ocean, how cool it is, what you're doing there, and you're one of those leaders, man. People should relocate. The only thing you need is a good army. The only
that's
thing you
it.
need is a signal boost. You need people that are out there with you consistently, blowing you up. Amy says, "Love you, sir."
Appreciate you,
my
sis.
my man Jonas says HBCUs were a Rockefeller concept. Het Smelman. Hey man, I'm not saying their birth was great. I'm saying right now anything we can do at this point, an inch is an inch. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
Nick DiPaolo is in Savannah. Hell yeah, one of the best comedians
Yes, he
alive.
is.
I did not
Nick
know
Dip
he was a
is here.
Savannah Res.
Yeah, he moved to
Man,
Savannah. Damn, when did Nick move to Savannah? Nick moved to Savannah within like the last 5, 6 years. Like
no, we're doing
it
this
was during Trump. Yeah.
summertime. It's on. Summertime.
Yeah,
It's
man.
on there.
Come on with it, bro.
We'll put a thing together. It'll be great. So, yeah, man, Savannah's just wonderful, dude. It looks like you got some great stuff coming up. Don't forget my plan of the HBCU. We will not, Jonah. We will not. Man, we're gonna have to let Jonah call in. He's contributed eventually. I want us to do a
Yeah.
call-in show eventually. I don't know about next week, because as things heat up and it looks like Nikki Haley is the only one left. And I would really
Mhm.
kind of like to get into that, kind of do an update after all of the primaries. We'll get into that. I think it's going to be a big news week. I mean, it's already been. Think about it. It's not even the first month is over. We've already had cat go crazy, war. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So many people drop out of the race. I don't think I've ever seen an election where this many people on the
This
contesting
fast.
side have dropped out so early. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Haven't even made it to South Carolina yet. We're not even made it to Super Tuesday yet, bro.
I know.
Hey,
And the only one
it's
left is
wild.
uh my man, can we talk about that MLK speech that Coretta read for the award for Margaret Sanger next week? Hell yeah, we can, LS. I'm putting that on. You know what? I'm going to write that down as we speak, LS, because you are the man. You contribute to the show. If you want us to talk about it, we will. And that is the MLK speech Coretta read. I'm doing this in real time. Margaret Sanger. All right. Who I know is evil. Margaret Sanger is evil. So she wanted to eradicate black people. So there is that. Um Jonah said, "No, I'm going to put on Tough Crowd." You know what? I've been meaning to watch some old Tough Crowds, Jonah. Actually, for writing for the Grifties, I'm trying to do that to really bring home that roast, old school style roast stuff. So, yeah. Margaret Sanger was just one that was sent out, but she was the most effective. She was powerful, yes. All right, and then to wrap it up real fast, man, just excited about going to get deep into the writing. I've got one last person to confirm for the Grifties, and it's possibly the biggest one. Excited about getting that guy locked in, getting the writing done, logistics taken care of. Ooh, I'll release it here. We haven't released it yet.
Okay.
As tomorrow, what it looks like, and that's the thing I can say here, it looks like it's not a lock-in, but I have everybody agreed that Friday night before the Grifties, we're going to do a comedy Hotep hangout, and your ticket will include a ticket to the show to see Sam Tripoli's 9 p.m. late show, and then hors d'oeuvres and a Hotep hangout at the club afterwards, which is where the event will be the next night, so you know your way around. And so everybody is going to be able to hang out with probably, I think Cannon's going to be there. Most definitely Rudy's going to be there. I'll be there more than likely, 99%. And anyway, if you come in on
You'll
Friday
be there.
night,
You'll be
yeah.
there because I gotta be there.
If you come in on Friday night, it will be the Hotep Hangout, and we'll have tickets for that online soon. And you get to have some snacks after the late show, have some drinks, hang out with Sam Tripoli, and definitely hang out with Hotep Jesus, Cannon, possibly Unk, and that kind of thing. There, I think it'll be a lot of fun. So it looks like we're doing that. It's about a 99%. I just got to get the confirmation from the club tomorrow. So that's a little fun thing that might not be released. It won't be released till Tuesday. In the Hotep Nation, but I can say we are working on it. Had the official conversation meeting yesterday. So yeah, only here, baby. You only get that
Only
behind
here,
the
baby.
scenes here. So
It's the
yeah.
rumble on rumble. You know what I'm saying? Rumble, young man, rumble.
And I'm gonna
That
give a
is
shout out to everybody too. Thank you, Troublemaker Jonah. You are the man, dude. Like the more I get to know you, the more I appreciate and value you, man. And I wish you were close, man. We'd be hanging out and talking deep shit, man. I value you. You're a valued man. I hope everything is going good. I hope you're healthy. Wait, is Sam Tripoli supposed to be a positive? I thought you'd love him, bro. Okay, I will keep that to myself. I figured you would love him, man. He's part of the team. In fact, I just watched his was just literally before I came in was watching his latest one on this. He had this guy on talking about how John Lennon wanted out of the masonry, and that's why they killed him. So very interesting stuff there. You'll dig it. So I want to send a shout out to LS as well. Tomorrow I felt like she was hating on, she was not feeling me, and then she bounced. But just let her know I'm good people. Shout out to Cannon, of course. Shout out to Fuego in the building. I love that. And of course, Amy K Hall. I hear you're pretty cool. I'm gonna find out myself soon. And man, I'm gonna be honest. Right now, I'm praying for a sign from God. And not in a crazy way, but if you try to live a spiritual life and you try to walk in meditation and prayer and towards love and patience and appreciation and respect towards all men, sometimes you can get into some heavy stuff, man, and you can wonder, is it all making sense? But I believe that God is amazing and he'll lead the path, and it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. If you are in God's path and you're following what you should be doing and you're keeping it as tight as you can, God is going to open those doors and make the way where there is no way. I can answer you on Instagram. You answer me on Instagram then, Jonah. And so I'm excited, and I'm going to come back Sunday and I'm going to tell you what I found out. And so hang in there with us. We're going to have some good stuff to talk about next Sunday, and then possibly Sunday after that we'll do a call-in show or something. We'll figure it out. Thank you for staying with us. Protocol. When you're the president, I'm going to be stoked to be your press secretary. It's going to be fun.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Because I'm going to talk all the shit. And you know,
Okay. Yeah,
you're going to be like, dog, did you have to go so hard on him?
No, bro. I'm gonna be like, bro, you're not going hard enough. Take this.
I can polish up when need be. So, man, thank you again, brother. Thank you, man. You are a true
problem.
brother.
Thank you, bro. Yes, sir.
And we're gonna kick it. We're gonna do some big things. I can't wait to see you in March, and then I'm gonna be spending some time there this summer. If nothing else, we're gonna knock some doors and we get that purple state red. So
yep, we're gonna make it red, bro. We got a lot of work to do, and it's possible. It's really possible. So
my state is locked in red. So you know what I mean. Fresh Mike playing devil's advocate was dicey. Thank you, LS. It was, bro. You should be me. Bro, you should be me on that, man. I had no desire to do that, but I felt like it was needed, man. So you know what I mean? It was a little dicey. LS, thank you for hanging in there and understanding what I was trying to do there, and that it needed to be done. There needs to be a white dude to stand up and go, hey, guys, I love you. I don't disrespect you at all, but I think you're wrong. There needs to be a guy to do that. And there needs to be a guy like Protocol who says we don't just have to call him a piece of shit racist. We can break down logically why what we're saying is needed and important. And you guys did that, and thank you. Anything else before we get out of here, boss?
Nah, man, I think we good to go, bro. I appreciate you for everything, man. This was definitely a fun show. Guys, make sure you share this. Let people know this was a great conversation. They need to check it out. Spread it far and wide, guys. That's all I say. Spread it far and wide.
Absolutely. Once again, thank you guys so much, and we are out of here. Good night. Bye-bye.